Happy Star Wars Day, everybody, and welcome to FatMan Beyond. I'm Kevin Smith.
I'm Marc Bernardin. Hey.
Hey, man. May the 4th be with you, ladies and gentlemen.
Indeed. Welcome to the 4th of May. It's pretty nice.
This is nice, man. Who knew that a bunch of movies that we watched as kids would one day become a holiday, an international holiday? Everybody celebrates Star Wars Day. That's why we're all off from work and school, because May the 4th be with you.
Thanks, George Lucas.
Yes, George Lucas gave us a gift. Okay, so tonight what we're going to do is watch The Empire Strikes Back together, all of us, but I'm more concerned with Marc's reactions. And we're going to comment throughout. Now, mind you, since we're doing it online, there may be gaps, while one waits for the other to speak. I would, since there is delayed time, Marc, anytime you want to speak, if I'm speaking, go like this, so I'll know to wrap up. And anytime if you're on a tear and I'm like, ooh, I want to jump in, I'll raise my hand and then you'll know to wrap up. That'll be a decent visual cue, because otherwise it's like, I want to say something. 1, 2, 3. I want to say something. So let's not be like those people that digitally erase the ear pods from late night shows to hide the fact that people are actually wearing ear pods during these trying times. Let's embrace the fact that we're separated by a sea, an ocean of technology, but it's also bringing us together. Ladies and gentlemen, me and Marc, are going to watch the Disney Plus version of Empire Strikes Back. We chose that not as a plug for Disney Plus. We're not here to plug them. If I'm here to plug anybody, it's thatkevinsmithclub.com. Go right now. But Disney Plus, we figure a lot of people have. Maybe not everyone has Empire Strikes Back in their home viewing library, although what would you be doing watching a stream at the Scum and Villainy Cantina if you didn't? But just because everyone seems to have Disney Plus, we're watching the Disney Plus version. Marc, do you know if the Disney Plus version is the classic or the one with like digital wampa in it?
My guess would be that it's at the very least the special editions, if not the most recent version of the George Lucas la-di-da. So I think there's going to be some screams as Luke plunges down a Bespin tube that hadn't been there before. I don't think it's any longer or shorter, but I think we're getting some digital whiz bang.
All right, we're going to get some augmented version. This is not, what do they call it? Disclaimer. This is not the version that Marc and I saw in the theater in our childhood, but it's pretty close. Close enough, man. But boy, oh boy, not only is this a great Star Wars movie, in fact, the best Star Wars movie, one of the best pop movies ever made. Would you agree, Marc?
Indeed. Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, we'll get into it a little bit later because we have like 2 hours and 20 minutes to talk about Empire Strikes Back. But this was a very instructive movie, I think, for an entire generation of moviegoers who saw this at an age in which this was like maybe the most mature movie they'd ever seen. And I'm definitely one of those people. It was like, why? Wait a minute. This is deep and sad.
Excellent point, man. It's true. This was, even though it was a movie about fantasy and characters who you would come to know from a previous film and adventure and stuff like that, it was kind of, for lack of a better description, adult. Like, not adult where they're like, look at these, but adult, like, they're dealing with adult themes. Like Star Wars, everybody wins, and so you go home feeling good and stuff. Empire Strikes Back, they're like, this is life, kid. It sucks, and people get frozen and taken away by bounty hunters.
Yeah, this is a generation's first tragedy, I'm pretty sure. And as such, it's super important to me because, after this, why does any movie need a happy ending? Empire didn't have a happy ending.
So true. All right, kids, line your shit up. We're about to dive into the Star Wars universe. We're going to see some Warren in the Stars, man. We're at the 0 mark right now on Disney Plus. Are you ready to press play, Marc Bernardin?
I am indeed. My swatch is synchronized.
Is that a Watchmen swatch that you got?
I wish it was. Wouldn't that be great?
I got one for you if you want one. They sent me one when the TV show was. But
What?
I came home after the tour. They sent me this amazing Watchmen box that had a mask in it because, you know, in the show, although I was using it here in the real world, it turned out to be handy. It came with a T-shirt and it came with a Watchmen swatch, bro. So I have it for you.
Cool.
And you are.
Ooh.
I mean, I know you could fucking call your buddy Damon Lindelof and be like, send me real props from the show. But I got a watch for you, Marc Bernard. You're going to love it.
I will
very fond
absolve
of
you
the
of your
fact when
watch responsibility.
He reminds people constantly that him and Damon Lindelof are like this.
Like I go into the supermarket wearing my mask. Where'd you get your mask, bro? Can I buy it? Nah, not unless you know Damon Lindelof, my friend. Because I do.
You know the guy that made Lost? Who here knows who's got two thumbs and knows the guy that made Lost? Hello, Mr. Bernardin. As we
He's
told
back
you
again.
before, this is a bank. All right, here we go. Starting at 0. We're diving into the Star Wars magic, counting down in 3, 2, 1, and we press play. I've got mine muted and I've got my subtitles on, so you won't hear the
As do
flick.
I.
You'll just, yes, that's the way to do it. We don't want to pay Disney for this. I've already overpaid Disney for Star Wars throughout my life. And believe me, if my mom was here, she would back that sentiment right away. She'd be like, half my life was spent buying that stuff. And then she got mad when I opened Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash. And at one point, I was like, well, you know, maybe it's time to let the Millennium Falcon go. And so I sold my childhood Millennium Falcon, my childhood AT-AT. I kept my figures, my action figures, but I let a lot of the vehicles sell, you know, in Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash in the early days of the stash in Red Bank. And my mother cried, bro. She was like, those meant the world. She did. I made my mother cry. And I'm not sure what it was because she was like, those meant the world to you when I was a kid. But I save everything. So it's not like she's like, you're not sentimental enough. I think she was just because like, I paid a lot of money for that shit and you just sold it. And you might as well give me the profit back. I invested so much money in Star Wars. Did you buy the toys when you were a kid?
I was a huge toy collector as a kid. I was like I'm going to eat all this General Mills cereal because I know there are some friggin' like trade-ins. If I eat this cereal, then I get these dolls. I'm sorry, action figures, not dolls. Let's be clear.
Yeah, man, what the heck?
But I had
Star Wars was the movie that changed it from dolls to action figures. That's how they made it okay for us to play with dolls as little boys because they were like, this isn't a doll, it's an action figure. And we're like, yeah, this figure's full of action. That was a term that was born in our lifetime to convince us to buy more toys. But I'd argue that you could have written Star Wars dolls all over this and kids still would have bought them by the droves because this was our religion. Were you a big Star Wars kid or did like I loved Star Wars, but Empire was my true religion?
Star Wars, I mean, A New Hope is the first movie I remember seeing. Like literally, I can remember that experience of being in a theater, watching that movie, seeing the words come up, just like we saw in the beginning of Empire, with the words, the scroll coming over, and then like the blockade runner, and then the friggin' Star Destroyer chasing it down. Like all those things are vivid memories for me.
Right.
And so every other experience of movies is comparing to Star Wars. Especially the experience in the theater. And so to the point where seeing the special editions in the theater again, even seeing, you know, the prequel trilogy, even seeing this new sort of the end of the Skywalker saga, every single time I see the 20th Century Fox logo, I expect Star Wars to follow. You know, like it just, oh, it's a different movie now. Oh, all right, because after this, I usually see the Lucasfilm all shiny, and then, but, and then when you don't get the, I'm just like disappointed by, whatever's, I guess. Fine, Fight Club.
These movies prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that branding works because still we're waiting for Star Wars to begin after every Fox fanfare. I remember this is a movie that captures my imagination right away as a kid because of the probe droid coming out of the, you know, this is the second one that Luke's watching now, but the first one before we got to see the Probot rise out and instantly, I mean, it's probably because of John Williams' iconic, amazing score. But instantly, you knew that was bad shit. It looked like a Death Star robot. It looked like a Darth Vader robot. And right away, the world building began. You got to remember when we were kids, we didn't have a fuck ton of sequels. We had movies in a franchise. For example, they made a lot of James Bond movies, but they rarely talked about the previous adventure. Bond was never like, well, in Doctor No, this is what happened. Like, there was no mythology or something. Jaws 2 did reference the events, of course, of Jaws. Bad News Bears and Breaking Training acknowledges that Bad News Bears happened before. But generally speaking, there weren't mythology sequels. This was one that was just like, remember all your characters? They're all back, and this is what they did the next day, more or less. So, you know, you were like, oh. So once you see Han or Luke, once you see really Luke on the Tauntaun and whatnot, you know, you're back. You're like, this is our old friends. You can take over.
Now, which one of these, like Star Wars, whenever you visit a planet, George Lucas was very fond of this planet only has one ecosystem. This is the snow planet, or the sand planet, or the swamp planet, or the gas planet.
Is there a beach on Hoth somewhere that we don't see on the other side of the planet where they're like, I know there's some shit going on in the northern hemisphere, but down in the south of Hoth, holy shit, man, it's like Miami.
It's the vacation spot. Which of those temperate zones was your favorite? Were you a Hoth guy? Like, when you see Hoth, were you like, oh, I'm all about this fucking Hoth?
Here, I'm not, you can quote me on this, it's not a hot take, but fuck Dagobah. You know what I'm saying? Like, swampy and shitty with monsters that'll eat your droid and whatnot. Give me Hoth any day of the week. I know how to stay away from a Wampa. And plus, the Hoth planet gave us one of the greatest sequences in all Star Wars history, the Snowwalkers, the AT-ATs. Look at how fucking shitty he is to the general. The general, like, talking. Han ignores exactly what he says. He's like, General, I gotta get the fuck out of here. And he's like, oh, look, we'll hate to lose a good fighter, but fuck, we'll be happy to lose a rude prick like yourself. Thanks for not even hearing what I said. This is adorable. Look at how adorable Carrie Fisher looks, man. She's and baby-faced at this point. There's our princess. And, you know, this is her with a different hairstyle than we'd seen throughout all of Star Wars, and that hairstyle became iconic. So once this movie begins, you're like, where are the Leia buns? And they never bring the Leia buns back in the whole movie.
Never coming back. I mean, there's a lot. I mean,
Ord Mantell. They referenced Ord Mantell. There's some world building too, because remember, Ord Mantell was in the comic books, the Marvel comic books as well. There were other references to Ord Mantell outside of Empire.
I forgot how quickly we pick up with them, with Han and Leia kind of already having been in a relationship, I think. Because it's already gone from, like, when we last left them in A New Hope, it's just, hey man, you're not all about the money anyway. I knew you'd be back, and then here's a friggin' medal. And now it's as if they're, like, in the middle of a breakup in a way, or they, like, had been together and then broke up, and now it's just been weird for them hanging out in Hoth for a while. Sexual tension right before the consummation of a relationship, I would guess it as. You know, in a world where he's like, she's like, I'd just as soon kiss a Wookiee. And he's like, I can arrange that. You know, that's that snappy banter from the front page or something like that. You know, these two are falling in love and shit. But I tell you, man, there's a world where somewhere they made a movie called Star Cuck, a solo story. And, you know, it's all about how he arranges fucking, you know, meet and greets with Chewie that turned very sexual. And it's, and the tagline, if they had a tagline for it, it would be, he watches Wookiees make whoopee, ... Take it off.
Look at
Take
this.
your bandolier off.
Do they have much of a relationship, Han and C-3PO, in Star Wars?
I think there's just a little bit on the Death Star. Like, they're not hanging out a lot. Like, they're on the Falcon a little bit, they're on the Death Star a little bit, but I think they have maybe 8 lines of dialogue, 8 couplets between the two of them. And now it's as if they're just like the odd couple.
If I'm C-3PO, I'm like, you know, man, like, get off my goldenrod dick. I'm trying to help here. Like,
I'm doing my best.
We all fought the Empire together and blew up a fucking Death Star. You gonna give me shit on Hoth? Like, fuck you, I was there, I helped. That kind of shit.
Maybe C-3PO is a little bit. Maybe it's like R2 is like, I helped. I was in the friggin' X-Wing. Where were you, 3PO?
C-3PO is like, I was there to support Princess Leia when she was looking at the big round screen and shit like that. He's like, I was there to tell her the odds. And fuck you, I helped. He's in for a penny, in for a pound, R2. He's like, you're such a fucking show-off. Those two, that's the bickering that comes from an electric relationship that's been going on for years.
When did you first hear that the story, and I don't know how true it is, I don't know how apocryphal it is, but the idea that this entire sort of Wampa sequence, this whole bit where like Luke gets hit in the face, and his face is all fucked up and scarred, because it was to excuse the fact that Mark Hamill looked so different between A New Hope and Empire because he got in a car accident, a very bad car accident.
Yeah, he'd gotten. I heard that even then as a kid, like because it was in the news. We didn't have like the internet, of course, but like People magazine existed, so like they talked about him being in an accident, but the face, like how they worked it into the movie, was more like me putting it together rather than like reading an article, because as a fan I knew he had gotten hurt, and so in this movie when he got hurt it was like, so later on when he looks scarred you're like, it all kind of tracks. Could you imagine if you bought a pizza and that pizza cut your fucking arm off? Because that's what happened. That's what just happened to this guy. He's like, oh my God, I got my fucking meal. I'm going to have a good ass time tonight, eat the fuck out of this. And all of a sudden his meal came to life, cut his fucking arm off, man. And it's a Star Wars movie. So of course some arm or some hand was cut off. He never goes for legs, man. Like, no. I would have went for the Wampa leg. Because you cut those fuckers' legs off. He's like, then you got a shot of him on the ground, like fucking boxing Helena, man. And he's just like, that's horrifying. But they weren't going for horror, I think. I love Han's fatigues in this movie. Like, this is my favorite Han Solo outfit. Fuck the one from the first one with the vest and shit, the classic one. The Han Hoth fatigues with the jacket. I would wear that coat today if I could find it. I've met people in the real world. I guess they sold it on some like Disney store or something. They must make that Han Solo Hoth coat, because I've seen it on like a fucking fan. Because I would love to put on that coat and be like, then I'll see you in hell, like every time I leave the fucking place. Which is the shittiest thing to do to a dude who is like, you should be careful out there, Mr. Solo, you might die. He's like, then I'll see you in hell. And then the other guy's just like, what does that even mean? Why am I going? Why would I? Yeah, like fucking. Why am I going to hell? I'm a believer. I have never heard you talk about Jesus, Han. You know what? I'm never talking to him again. And then he pairs up with C-3PO, and they talk about how shitty Han is, man. And soon the cancel Han, the Hansel campaign begins on Rebel Base Twitter.
It's like, dude,
never mind the horrifying notion of what happened to Mark Hamill in real life. This movie introduces two things. Number one, the Tauntauns sound like the Hamburglar. They're always like, rabble, 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 rabble. So I say George Lucas owes Disney a buck or two. But they also are going to introduce us to how to save a life by taking another life. So, that's something, or using a dead life. I guess they didn't really take it.
Because Han doesn't kill that Tauntaun. He's just like, I got a dead Tauntaun here.
But let's be honest, Rick and Morty style, you knew he would have. He would have been like, Luke's more important. And that thing goes down. And then he cuts it open and shit. But Han got lucky in as much as poor Tauntaun gets exposed to the elephants. This is one of the greatest scenes in movie history right here, man. Where,
I've never been as sad. That it chills up the spine every time.
Right.
Because like the sound of the door is like slowly winding up and the music is crescendoing, and then Chewie looks over and sees it, and then, Han's outside and he's all dead.
I remember in high school, anytime, we had a gymnasium like everybody else, and anytime they went half gym and they closed the giant door, I would always go, like close. Every time I see a giant door close in life, on movie studio sets, they got big giant doors. When I see them close, this is the beginning of ghosts in the movies, right? Like, he heard
first Force ghost.
Ben's voice in Star Wars when he's like, use the Force, Luke. But this is the first time he fucking sees Ben Kenobi and shit.
This is a very coincidental vision quest where it's like he happens to fall down here, And then, Obi-Wan's like, you have to go to Dagobah. Go find Yoda. And then as soon as Obi-Wan disappears, then Han Solo comes like walking in. It's like, oh, it all happened right here.
That all happened because Harrison Ford was like, I'm not doing all that exposition. I just want to ride up on a tauntaun. Let the old man Ghost do the exposition. He can talk about fucking all that shit. I'm here to rescue. I'm rugged. I'm a carpenter, man. This is I was so happy to see these two come back together, right? Because they're new friends in Star Wars. Oh, there he goes. Bam. A little bit of stop motion there. Blended with a real tauntaun head. Well, not real. They don't exist, but a life-size tauntaun head. I don't understand why, in a world of fan service, they echoed and brought back a lot of things in the sequels and the new trilogy that they just made, but nobody did tauntauns. I always thought that, like Ryan's movie, The Last Jedi, it shouldn't have been new animals that they were riding with those creepy human faces. He should have done tauntauns, man. That would have been dope. It's like, oh, fuck, that's where they got them. That's where the tauntauns went and shit. But, Ryan was all about, like, I don't want to do old. I want to do new, which I totally respect. But I was low.
But when JJ did Rise of Skywalker, though, Rise of Skywalker, like, you've got these people on this planet, and they're riding some kind of horses, and then they get those horses on the actual, like, super crazy Star Destroyer thing. It's like, I want to see Finn riding a tauntaun.
You're action. Fucking kidding, man. Once again, you've improved a fucking movie. Like, yes, why not an army of fucking tauntaun? That would have made you feel warm. Remember in the trailer when people were like, fucking space horses? What's this all about? Imagine if it had been a fleet of tauntauns running across the deck of a Star Destroyer. You'd be like, that's the image I would jerk off to in the 70s. Just what's better than that? This is the first time we see the snow speeders, man.
I mean, Farrah Fawcett, Catherine Bach. I mean, there's a lot of different, but no. Fake.
They came later. Snow speeders, first introduction of a cool new vehicle in the Star Wars universe. We were used to the X-Wing. We're used to the TIE Fighter. We're used to the Millennium Falcon, Star Destroyers. But this is where, the Probot, that doesn't count because it just looked like a asteroid and shit. But this is like, ooh, like I wonder if they're going to sell that. And you'd be damn skippy. They sold it.
They will.
And then they introduce on the same planet the AT-AT as well, the other new addition to the Star Wars armada, which, like, as a kid, you were like, oh, they look like metal elephants. And they were based on the movement of elephants, if I remember correctly.
Can we talk for a little bit about the fact that we're like 15 minutes into this movie? And we haven't seen the Empire that is going to be striking back. Like, it is literally just like survival
we saw
story.
the probe droid, and we start on a Star Destroyer, but we haven't seen our main bad guy, of course, is what you mean.
Right. And it's like our heroes are not in any way contending, really, with the Empire. It's just, oh, it's cold out, and oh, Luke got lost, and oh, we got to go save Luke. We're going to slice open this tauntaun, and like, oh, we found him, and then he's in the hospital, and it's like, oh, where's the threat, per se, that we were told was coming? These movies are always a little...
Think about the Infinity War speed. They literally open with, like, Loki getting killed and Thor getting his ass beat by the big bad guy. They don't bury the lead. They're like, here he is. This place, these cats are more leisurely and shit. They're like, we'll get to evil metal man. Like, we want to catch up with old friends. We want to they world build. He takes his time. This is the late 70s. They start making the movie. Early 80s, of course, when it comes out. It's a more leisurely pace. Think about it. Everybody who makes a movie, an action movie, a pop movie, a Marvel movie, looks to this movie as the example that everyone wants to set. It's the high bar to hit. But nobody goes at the glacial pace of this motherfucker. Like, you're absolutely right. It's crazy.
I mean,
but
Infinity
look, I
War,
remember this.
You kill Thanos before the opening credits. Literally, it's like you chop his head off, and then it's bum, 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 bum. Like, wait, what? We haven't even got the credits yet? The bad guy's dead?
It's crazy, man. Infinity War and Endgame go a lot fucking faster, but yet both of them, of course, would probably give a nod to this movie as like, and look at how well they're balancing multiple characters at once and introducing sexual tension. Now, those two kissed in Star Wars, so you're like, yeah, they're going to keep kissing. But all of a sudden, Han in the beginning is getting all sweet on her and shit. And that's when you realize later in life that George Lucas made the mental calculation and had to be like, I have to show that she's interested in this guy because I'll get 2 bites at the apple. One, they're going to think it's a love triangle, and then I'm going to creep them all out for generations, send them to therapy when everyone finds out they're fucking twins. And they don't find that out till the 3rd movie. So, George Lucas probably ruined our emotional, our psychological childhoods more than Steven Spielberg, who kept me out of the ocean my entire fucking life. These filmmakers were not being responsible with children whatsoever.
Not at all. And like, I think back when I watch the scene again, I'm like, listen, George Lucas had the opportunity to go back into all 3 of these movies and change a bunch of shit. Some shit that didn't need changing, some shit that maybe whatever, you want to put Jabba the Hutt in, I get it. But all kinds of digital trickery to make it, kind of spiffier and spoofier and whatever. He could have changed that. Like, there's a world in which you could have gotten rid of incest from this trilogy. And George is like, no, that's got to stay. These brothers and sisters have to totally kiss. I mean, we could fix it, I know, but
sci-fi, it's in space. It's different. Brothers and sisters in space or whatever. Look at Chewie with snow on his face.
More of that. Like, that's a great look for Chewie. Hoth always captured my imagination. I used to get like the styrofoam or the foam that like things were packed in a box, and I could cut this one and make it look like they're set. You know what I'm saying? Like with the jagged rocks. Oh, all right. Here we are.
Here we go.
How many minutes into the movie? Almost 20 minutes, dude, before you meet Darth Vader again. Re-meet Darth Vader. And this is a different Darth Vader than the last one we met, who was like, I have you now. What? When the dude blasted at him from above and then went spinning off into space. This is the hunter. This is the Darth Vader who we'll see later on in Rogue One. And he's single-minded aboard his ship, the Executioner, man. Look at him. And his helmet is shiny this time around, not like last time. And unlike last time, he has a purpose. He has a mission, and he wants to find Skywalker. He didn't give a flying fuck about Skywalker last time. This time, he wants him. Did you even sense that as a kid? Because as a kid, I was like, how does he even know who Luke Skywalker is? And, of course, we find out and stuff. But he hits the ground running. And that's the difference between George, I think, wrote the screenplay to Star Wars, and what's his name?
Lawrence Kasdan and Lee Brackett.
Those cats were like, all right, they laid track that we still run our trains on today. You know what I'm saying? In terms of 3-act storytelling structure in a giant sci-fi fantasy movie.
Yeah, like, and it's as we come out of A New Hope and we come into Empire, and the first time you see Vader, like, you get it. He's pissed off that Luke Skywalker blew up his big shiny ship. Like, it's revenge.
Did you see how close he came to Veers, Darth Vader? He almost kissed him. He was one of those like,
oh, hello.
He was like, sorry. And you got to apologize, even though it's his fault. You got to be like, sorry, Lord Vader, even though he was the one that got uncomfortably close. It's tough to judge your peripherals wearing that fucking helmet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't wear a helmet. I wear this hat, and sometimes I don't know who's next to me. So if you're wearing that fucking helmet, how do you know the proximity you are to people? 2-1B, man, the medical droid. This guy, I think, didn't he pop back up? And not him, but like
another one. I guess
IG or IG-11 was like, I'm a nurse droid, which I thought was beautiful in Mandalorian. But look at that. That's sweet.
But I thought that 2-1B also pops up in Rise of Skywalker when Carrie sort of like passes out, and then there's one of those medical droids tending to her as she is in her forced coma or whatever.
Do you really think like you'd be this casual with a motherfucker who literally saved your life by cutting open a dead tauntaun and sticking you inside, and then you're just like, all right, bye. It's like, what? Like, go down there, man. Give him a fucking, give him a good talking to. Fucking like, you mean the world to me. I wish you weren't leaving. Talk it out and shit. I don't know.
Although it's entirely possible that Han never told Luke that he put him inside of a fucking tauntaun. Like, Luke passes out.
That's true.
And then wakes up in a medical bay. Like, someday I'll tell you what happened.
Maybe 2-1B, the medical droid, told him later on. He was like, your friend stuck you up a tauntaun's ass. Ha, ha, ha. Ooh, the meditation chamber. One of my favorite introductions in Empire Strikes Back. Him alone in that dark, evil egg where later, once it's closed, he takes his hat off, man. That's I want one of those in life. I only take my hat off in my office when I'm alone and shit. And I want me an egg that closes like teeth. So I'm like, nobody could see me. I take it off. That's his jerk off pod. We all know that as adults now. We didn't know that as kids.
We can't see the lotion in the corner. We can't see the box of tissues over there.
It's all digitized. And then look, he pulls up Pornhub and stuff.
Yep.
And then his
screen.
category is men in uniform. And look at him. He's facing away from us. And he likes them. He loves those pornos where people choke each other out. And obviously that's his thing because it's happening right now. This is the first time, like, we saw him in Star Wars do this shit to a dude in the room. Remember when he choked the one dude? But look at him. He's choking people over fucking TV. Could you imagine if he was part of the Nielsen family? This motherfucker be distance choking left and right and stuff like that. Look at this. It ain't Star Wars unless there's a bunch of people surrounding other people talking about war, man. And give it up for this movie. Look at how in charge she is. Princess Leia, of course, showed lots of moxie and take charge, and she was an action heroine in Star Wars. But here they show her as literally the commander, and all these boys are sitting around and listening to her and taking their orders from her. And that was an important thing to see, I think, when we were kids, because it hadn't been like that prior. They didn't really like do that in other movies, not even in like cartoons. Like, I don't know. It just made an impact. This is a gorgeous set, man. Like, look at them taking great use of the production value of just nature with all that snow. And then you put some tech in the snow. And this scene, man, is like so chock-a-block full of raw tension. You don't know what's coming. We all know what's coming because we've seen this movie a zillion times. But the way they build the scene out, even though you saw in the trailer, the snow walkers coming. I remember, the ion cannon. I remember I had the Rebel Troop transport as a kid. One of the most boring ships they ever made. But even though you knew those snow walkers were coming, the scene that Irving Kershner, the director of Empire Strikes Back, has constructed has tension running throughout it. Steven Spielberg would later show a glass in a car of water rippling to indicate that the dinosaurs were coming. In this movie, it's the ground itself. Here we meet Dak, who says he's ready to take on the whole Empire himself, and they're going to kill the shit out of him the fuck
Dak.
away. Yeah, you can't take on the whole Empire. Fuck you. You can't make it past the first Snow Walker, Dak head. Motherfucking boasty and shit. He's like, I can do it all, Luke. And Luke's like, I wish I had a better gunner, man. You're all talk, Dak. He has to leave him behind and shit. Ooh, there they are.
Can I say the battlefield tactics of the Empire are wonky as fuck? Because it's like, all right, we're going to land a bunch of tanks, and we're going to march them in a straight line towards the rebels in a fixed position where they have their guns pointing the direction you're marching. Like, there's no flanking maneuvers. There's no, like, airborne attacks. There's no, like, it's the Revolutionary fucking War where it's, we're going to stand up over here and you're going to stand up over here and just shoot at each other for a while.
It's something that Ryan corrected in Last Jedi. Remember? Like, fucking they dropped those ships and the AT-ATs or the guerrilla walkers right in front of the front fucking door of the base. It's not like, we're going to fucking march a bunch of time. It's right there. These cats are way spaced out. They should have just firing all the weapons. Take one of them AT-ATs, drop it from the sky till it lands on the fucking generator.
Yeah. I get that, like, you're making this movie for children, and so you want it to seem as simple as possible. The bad guys are here, the good guys are here, they're coming, they're trying to fight, and it's all going to go down here. But it's dumb as fuck if you're like a battlefield commander.
Ooh, the AT-AT walker, the AT-AT commander, and the AT-AT stormtroopers, the ones that and the snow troopers, when they introduced different designs for characters you're familiar with. Like, I loved the snow troopers. They only get a few seconds, man, but like they had little capes and shit like that. It didn't really serve a purpose or anything. This is blue screen days, Mark, right? Like all
very
this
much
is,
so.
All blue screen. They don't do that no more. Now it's all green screen. It's all green screen these days. Back in those days, blue screen. There he goes.
The
useless
stop motion.
fucking Dak head. Just fucking
stop
dead.
motion is
I could
so
take on the
beautiful.
whole Empire myself, and he's fucking dead.
Yeah, not too much.
Yeah, thanks, Dak.
The miniature work is just so good. Like, they completely sell everything. And that's just dudes who are like, it's very slowly. There's no CG.
To be honest with you, you're fucking, for the first time ever, you're making me think differently. I thought it was I didn't think it was miniature work. I was like, they must have built those fucking things, right? It was the 70s. They built a giant King Kong once. They had to build giant snow walkers and shit. But you're right. It's all miniature work, isn't it?
It's all like Dennis Muren, like
Dennis Muren. That's right.
You know, hiding like in the Muppet half platform where the AT-ATs are like 3 feet tall or whatever, but they're still moving every leg.
Steady Rogue 2. Rogue 2, of course, is Luke, right? And that Rogue One is a movie, a whole movie. Hey, look, they're doing that thing from Captain America: Civil War, going around the legs of.
That old movie like Aliens?
Man, this movie just fucking works. You could show this movie to people that didn't see Star Wars. That's something that the Marvel movies took from Empire Strikes Back. Like, you don't need to see Star Wars to enjoy the fuck out of Empire Strikes Back. Just like you didn't need to see Captain America, the Winter Soldier, to enjoy the fuck out of Captain America, Civil War. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it gets deeper. If you've seen the thing that comes before, then all of these relationships all have more texture to it. Same with the Marvel movies. Like, you're not quite as lost, unless I remember my mom only saw Black Panther, and so then she wanted to see Avengers Infinity War and was like, what the hell is this? Who are these people? It's like, well, yeah, Mom, it's hard to flip to like chapter 14 of a book and be like, what's happening now? But yeah, this is a movie that teaches you how to watch it as you go.
Why do you think they designed those X-Wings where you need a fucking R2 unit? A mech droid, is it tech droid or a mech droid?
An astromech droid?
Astromech, thank you. This is the fucking, I mean, it's not the future. It's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But look at all the tech they got. Look, they can make mini walkers, little ats. Oh, yeah, the snow walker, man. The snow trooper. I would do a whole fucking series about the snow trooper, man, like the Mandalorian. He's got a cool outfit, too.
Totally. I like that General Veers would eventually get promoted from Imperial Schmuck to Nazi spy in Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade.
That's right. That's the guy, isn't it, man? It's. I guess George Lucas made Star Wars because he grew up, in a post-war era, right, following World War II, and then through Vietnam as well. So, unlike us, we didn't have a bunch of wars growing up. This guy's whole world was like, oh, they're always fighting somewhere, and we lose American boys over to some war overseas and stuff. It's kind of an anti-war movie in many ways. It's, in some ways, of course, it's an action adventure movie in every way, but it is kind of anti-war, and that can only come from a guy who grew up through a couple wars. Like, it would never occur to me to make this. I didn't see any wars. That's why it occurred to me to make Clerks. I worked in a convenience store.
But I also think that, like, to your point about why there are, like, astromech droids, because I think George Lucas grew up watching lots of war movies. And there's always, you got your pilot and you got your gunner. There's always, like, two guys in those ships. One can talk to the other. One of them will probably die in the middle of the mission or get shot and get incapacitated, like Dak. And so all of these ships always have, like, at least two people in them so that they can talk in and amongst themselves, as well as having other people overhear them on the big fucking radio board of the Rebel Alliance. But yeah, his entire, mindset was always the serials that he grew up with, the Flash Gordons and the Buck Rogers, and the old war movies. Like, the entire trench sequence in Star Wars is all, like, old World War II bomber footage. That's what he cut together as the temp track. Like, I want it to look like this. Bunch of old bombers and fighters and stuff.
These battle shots, I forget. They look expensive. I mean, they probably spent a pretty penny. This, not so much. But, it was early. It was
early green screen, early rotoscoping. Although that's
still a great idea. Cool. And also watch this shit. This is the first time you see somebody use a lightsaber in a way that you dream as a kid. Like, they use them to fight and shit like that. But, like, holy shit, he just literally cut that fucker open with a lightsaber. Like, more of that. Less of everything.
It's like a can opener.
A lightsaber to... Yeah, I don't use it to open doors, fucking cans, like just every damn scene. Luke takes out one or two. That one he took out. The other one he talked about. Like, his cord, is his cord the one that goes around the legs?
I thought that was Wedge. Did Wedge do it?
So somebody else takes that one down, and Luke takes one down. Fucking overachiever. This dude changing course, man. I've always loved that one where he fucking bank left and he's like, pop. He just takes out that fucking snow scooter. It took him so long to get to the fucking power generator and shit. They could have, again, just drop a fucking snow walker on that shit. It's all over.
It's like, maybe we should bring bombs with us next time.
Yeah.
You just launch some of these from space.
Especially because they have them in, what was that one movie? Last Skywalker. No. Yeah, Last Jedi. Well, they had the bombs in space. Remember with gravity? Go figure. I mean, it's sci-fi, but whatever.
Sure. Yeah, things drop in space.
He's very handsy with her, man. He's always dragging her around and stuff, but she's so tiny.
A little too much.
Han had every intention of leaving. Oh, here it comes. Every intention of leaving that droid behind, C-3PO. Here it is. Oh, I love this shot. As a kid, I loved it, man. When they bring in the bam, 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 metal. Man, and he's looking around. Where's the boy? I want the boy. Look at this. They don't give a fuck about C-3PO, and he can speak every language. Like, that's the guy I'm grabbing, man. Fuck the astromech droid who can't understand beep, beep, beep. This guy speaks English. I'm like, let's take him with us. Plus, you can hide behind him. He's a human fucking shield. You can't, there he is again. Bam,
I love how lonely
look
the Falcon looks. Like, the Falcon was all just by itself in that hangar bay. Just like, no.
Everyone's gone. They're like, we took all the good ships and left the piece of shit behind. So it's the last one fucking left in the parking space. It's like a fucking gremlin parked in a fucking parking lot in the last parking space at the back of the parking lot and shit. Meanwhile, hit that fucker, man. He's Fonzie, dude.
Shit.
That's a Fonzie move. Exactly. George Lucas stealing from Gary Marshall, man. Look at this shit. This is so badass. They set up the fucking gun and shit. Their lord and masters right behind them. Meanwhile, they're getting taken the fuck out. And Princess Leia, dude, is like what is that? 100 yards from the motherfucker who like kidnapped her and stuck needles into her and shit like that. That would be like her escaping from Hitler and then like being in this guy's car and she's like, go, 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 go. It's fucking Hitler. Go, go. And there he is. And he's like, I almost had all of those fucks. I want to see the scene, what happens next, where Vader's like, let's go through all their shit and take the money. They're all gone. They're never coming back. Let's see what kind of movies these fuckers have. This base is ours. Party! But they're all clones, right? So I guess they don't care so much.
Well, I mean, are they clones, though? Because, I mean, Finn wasn't clones. Like, because the stormtroopers at this point, are they Finn like the First Order?
No. These stormtroopers are the end of the clones. I think after Star Wars, they referenced that's when they started just stealing kids or something like that.
So each one of these guys is from like New Zealand inside there, right? They're all like,
right?
I guess.
Look at this, 36. They sure all look like they're from New Zealand. I mean, as a kid, are you fucking sitting there going like, hello?
Why is that one shorter than the other?
Any space representation up there for me? Hello?
No, everybody's in these white suits. Anyone?
By the time you see the movie, do you know that Lando Calrissian is going to be in it? Like, had you seen him in the trailer and stuff?
I don't think so, and I didn't have any real. It wouldn't have mattered, honestly, because I was here for Luke and Leia and Han Solo and Chewie. Like, there's a new guy that I don't know anything about. Okay, sure, I guess, and I think Lando. Billy D. Williams means way more to my mom than to me at like 10 years old. It was like, what's that? Billy D. Williams is in this. Maybe I'll go and see this movie now.
My mom would have also fucked Billy D. Williams and was very happy to see him show up in these movies because she had to sit through them. She was like, oh, I like him. He was in Mahogany and Lady Sings the Blues because she was a big Diana Ross fan. So that's how I sucked my mom into in fact, going to see... I saw Star Wars re-release before Empire came out because they added a trailer for Empire Strikes Back, the first trailer. And this was in the days where you can't fucking convince your parents to see anything twice because it costs money and shit. But I was like, please, I know we saw it 2 years ago, but we have to go back and see it, Star Wars again, because there's going to be a coming attraction for Empire Strikes Back. And I remember saying to my Mom, the guy from Mahogany and Lady Sings the Blues, he's probably going to be in it. It's Billy D. Williams. It's like, all right, Don, we'll go. So we went and saw the movie, see Star Wars again, just so we could see like a 1.5-minute trailer, which I've since seen online and stuff. Always takes me right back to that moment. We leave Hoth behind. We never go back. Now our adventurers are off in fucking the galaxy. Luke is on his way to Dagobah. These cats.
Now, who was flying the ship? Like, you know, they're being chased by Star Destroyers and TIE fighters, and both Chewie and Han are like in the innards of the fucking ship. Like, well, who's autopilot can't be doing evasive maneuvers and shit. Like, who's flying this ship? Seems irresponsible.
Mind you, most of the sci-fi kids were used to at this point was like Star Trek, 2001: A Space Odyssey, all heady shit. Nothing heady going on here, man. Fucking like whiz bang pow. What the? Whoa, shit, duck. Like,
yeah,
that's why JJ was kind of perfect for these movies. Yeah, what do you mean they couldn't do it before?
You couldn't do space battles like this before. You couldn't have the camera moving this way before. Like, all these things are innovations of Lucas and ILM and Dennis Muren and John Dykstra. Like, how do we make it feel like it's a World War II war movie with planes streaking and, you know, enemy fighters and all that stuff? And it was impossible with the technology until now. And then it was like, fuck it, push it. Like, let's do all the things we always wanted to do.
If I was the production designer, I would have been like, can the Millennium Falcon have no windows? You know, that will so really save our asses and stuff. I've always wondered about this. I know, like, you know, the whole Empire's fucking chasing him, and he loses some of these TIE fighters, like, here, bang. But, like, you know, he just dips into a fucking hole here. Where'd the Empire go? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but do they later on start dropping bombs on the planet or something, on the asteroid?
Do. Yeah,
so they do know. Raining. So they just bought themselves a little bit of time. How long do you think they are down there? Like an hour parking job or something like that? And when do they enter the monster? I guess in this cutaway, because we don't see them enter something's mouth and they don't notice either. Or are they in the belly of something? Or is it they were in the thing's hole and it was coming out of the hole to chase them?
I think they're in the thing's belly as soon as they fly in. I think that's how you're supposed to feel about that, right?
Or are they on top of the thing, like, because they're like, something's wrong here and shit, like, you know, and then they take off? Because that would mean the Minox, the things that are inside, like, are in that thing's belly. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I always thought they were inside this giant space slug, but maybe they're on top of the space slug, and then the space slug is just chasing it out of its hole when they leave. I don't know. We can figure that out in a minute. Meantime, my man here just had a whole conversation with his fucking gunner, as Marc pointed out. That was smart, dude. I hadn't thought about that. That's his tail man in the World War II movies and shit.
So, like, the timeline is wonky here, though, because, okay, so Han and company are in the fucking belly of that beast and the Minox and all of that shit. And that feels like it's 45 minutes, right? It feels like maybe that's how long they're there. Maybe an hour. Meanwhile, Luke is on Dagobah for what's got to be like a month, right? Because he's fucking training. Like, he's got to meet Yoda. He's got to talk Yoda into doing shit. Yoda's got to put him through classes. He's got to get the extension degree from UCLA Extension, whatever.
He's got to watch Yoda milk the fucking thing of green milk and then drink it right out of its teats and shit. That's where Luke learns to do that. Yeah, essentially, he does have to convince him and stuff. But, I mean, I wouldn't put it in a month. I always thought it felt like a week, and even that seems like a pretty long time in this timeline. Really, when you think about it, if you judge the story's timeline based on Han and Leia, it's probably like 4 days. That seem right?
Maybe because Han and Leia have to get out of the fucking belly of that beast, you know, finally get the hyperdrive fixed, make their way to Bespin, you know, then do all of the fucking Lando shit. But even that only feels like they're there for like a day on Bespin, right? Like, they land, he's fixing the ship, they change clothes, they have a dinner goes bad. and meanwhile, Luke has learned how to kind of be a Jedi.
Yeah, and people are always like, people attacked Rey going, oh, she's a Mary Sue or whatever the fuck. It's like, this guy's got like 3 days of training and then he's like, I'm off to save my friends. The what?
I got this.
He's not even done with basic, man. I remember being a kid and being like, oh, that'd be amazing. Space shark. But I guess we'll be getting space sharks and fucking Thor, right?
Yeah,
Love and Thunder, I heard. R2-D2 with a pop-up telescope was a new addition to the droid where you were like, that's cool. But, you know, as we saw in the prequels, this motherfucker could fly. How come he's not flying out of this place? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, unclear. This set is awesome, though. I mean, because
Really
Dagobah
is.
is all an interior set. I think it was supposed to be Pinewood, but then Pinewood, part of it burned down, so they moved to Elstree Studios, and they built all of this indoors, like every single bit of it.
I saw a picture of a giant overhead of the place on the internet, like, you know, one of those flashback photos, throwback photos. And it was massive. Like, you know, to hide the fact that it was a set, they made it deep. It had all these trees. And, of course, they built all the little sets, mini sets within. But it's pretty damn impressive to look at. And one of those things where you're like, they would never spend that kind of money anymore. They would just be like, stand over there in front of that green screen. We'll take care of the rest.
Have you seen The Mandalorian? We're just doing that now. We're not building anything ever again.
If I ever got my action figures as dirty as he got his R2-D2, my mother would have stopped buying me action figures. I wasn't allowed to take him out of the house. Meanwhile, he got his all shitted up. Look at that. Size does matter, Mark.
Ooh, Super Star
Is this
Destroyer.
the moment where we're going to see my man's like testicle-like head or something like that? This was like, it was such a tease.
Fleshy brain
He's like,
nugget.
Let's look.
Show me.
It's just a
Nice.
fucking barely a suggestion. Now, was that changed to, is this one of those updated movies where that was changed to look more like Anakin Skywalker, or was that the shot from 1980?
I think that's the 1980 shot, because I don't think there's anything that would tell that that's, you know, not Hayden Christensen's head, right? Like, I think that's, and it's so tiny. Like, you just get a sliver of flesh, and then it's the helmet's back on and vacuum seal, and then you're moving through it. But yeah, no, I think it's totally what it was.
I'll be honest, like, you know, it's I think it's on pretty well on record that I'm not fucking bright. When I was a kid, I thought Darth Vader was a robot. I thought all the stormtroopers were robots. So that scene when his like fucking, you know, helmet's off, that was my first inclination that like, he's a human being under that? He's a guy in a fucking suit? They didn't communicate that idea to me as well as they could have in Star Wars, apparently. I thought he was just a robot.
I will admit to agreeing and sharing that perspective when I was young, because yeah, like, look at them. There's lights and shiny and all of that stuff. They're all robots. Why they're not robots?
This guy is like, you know, a Joe Biden level of constantly awfully close to the people he's around. I don't mean that politically in a bad way or something. It's just based on pictures and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm all in for Biden. But yeah, he's always.
Although his hands were as I guess antiseptic as you can be when Princess Leia tumbles into you. Like, he's not grabbing. He's just like, hey, whoa. Hey.
And to be fair, he also catches C-3PO in the hangar bay in Hoth before, as they're all leaving. At one point, he gets thrown back and Han catches him, and he doesn't grope or anything like that.
No,
Han's like. They're like, he's an action hero. Let him catch everybody as they stumble around this movie. This movie's about a bunch of fucking stumble bums that can't stay straight up on their feet. And Han Solo's always there to catch them, man. That's
like
his
a vertigo
action.
catcher. I'm sorry, your equilibrium is off. I'm here for you. And Luke had time to like build a campsite and everything, and like I got all.
And he's wearing his Bespin fatigues. He got undressed because remember he got in his X-wing. He was wearing his X-wing outfit and shit. Here he is wearing these Bespin, what we call, the action figure was called Bespin fatigues. Should have been called Dagobah fatigues, because that's what he's fucking wearing. But the action figure said Bespin fatigues. But do you think he got dressed or undressed in front of R2-D2 right there in the woods and put on a new outfit? Do you think that confused R2-D2 in any way? Like, hey, man.
Don't look at me, R2. I mean, or unless you want to look at me, R2.
Or do you think R2 shot footage and shit? Put it in its own category on Pornhub. The introduction, ladies and gentlemen, of one of the greatest movie characters ever created, bar none, Yoda. He has no known, like, you can't say Yoda the space elf. He doesn't have, he has no gender. He's a guy, right? He's got to be a guy. I mean,
it's unclear.
Lady Yoda sound like that. Yeah, it's true.
I mean, it's like the Linda Hunt of Aliens, where it's like kind of androgynous. Could go either way.
Yeah, it could be, an argument could be made that Yoda's fairly androgynous.
I mean, he's wearing a house dress.
Yoda was our like kids. Just think about it. You're already in love with these Star Wars movies, and like, hey, kids, here's somebody your size, and he talks funny, and he's the size of a Muppet. Muppets were huge then, and he's a Jedi master. Even though he's little, he's more powerful than this Lloyd and his Bespin fatigues. Like, of course, Yoda appealed to us as kids, man. And hats off back, to Yoda. Like. Oh, look at that. He's got he's thick with 2 C's.
Dumps like a truck.
Hats off. Hats off to Favreau for like not saving or redeeming Yoda, but Yoda had kind of lost his whimsy and magic over the years and various incarnations and CG and stuff like that. They bring back Yoda. They're like, come on, remember how much you loved Yoda when you were a kid, when he first came out? Find that love again with baby Yoda, and then they gave us the tiny version of Yoda, and we're like, that's the way to bring Yoda back. And now the whole world's in love with baby Yoda, but you don't get there unless George Lucas and Jim Henson and Frank Oz make the trip first. I mean, did Jim Henson single-handedly sculpt Yoda?
I'm not sure how much Jim Henson actually did have to do with this. I don't know if this was like ILM Creature Shop. I don't know if it was all Frank Oz, or if Ralph McQuarrie designs were like, no, he should kind of be like this and with the little ears and whatever. Like, I'm not sure. I would love to. Yeah, dear listeners on the stream, if you have any information about whether or not Jim Henson even showed up on set at all, let us know, because that's a fine question, Mr. Smith. I don't have an answer to.
Look at that wide shot, man. That's a real person, probably a smaller person, little person, walking around in
Billy
a
Barty
Yoda outfit. Yeah, or something like that. Or of course, what's his name? The guy who plays Wicket later on.
Warwick Davis.
Warwick Davis, of course. Maybe that's some early Warwick work. Although Warwick was a kid when he was in Return of the Jedi, right? Like all the pictures of him, he's so
he looks
young.
like he was 12.
Look at how vast the Falcon is. They show off a lot more of the Millennium Falcon than you saw in Star Wars. And when I went to visit the set of Force Awakens, they told me, and I'm sure they told the press later on, they built their Millennium Falcons. They built one to scale, interior and exterior. They built theirs based on the blueprints from both Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, because they were kind of different. They looked very much the same, but the layout and what they built for the second one, like rooms like this, that didn't exist in Star Wars. After all that handsy back and forth and David and Maddie from Moonlighting type sexual tension, ladies and gentlemen, this instigates my interest in girls.
This is it. This is ground zero.
Not so much girls, because I always loved girls, but like romance. Like, this couldn't be more romantic when I was 9-10 years old. Like this, he's a bad dude, man, but he's a good dude. Because he was going to leave her. He was going to go and be like, I'm taking off. I got to pay off the bounty on my head. And then she was going to lose her fucking Star War, man. And suddenly fucking this guy pops back in. He's like, I got your back. Let's blow this thing. Get the fuck out of here. Like, he instilled fucking hope in her. She was a hard case. We all know that from Star Wars and shit. She didn't believe in people. And all of a sudden, this guy coming back, more so than Luke being a hero, this guy coming back captures her heart. That's why she fucking kisses him, man. Not because he's like devilishly handsome and shit like that, but because he's a fucking hero. And then Cockblock over here shows up and ruins the greatest moment in this movie, man. Like, and she fucking steals away into the ship. But she's, she knows better. She's, number one, she's royalty. Number two, she's governed, in the government and shit like that. She shouldn't like this guy, but like, he is literally the definition of a hero. He came back when he didn't have to. And then in this movie alone, in the beginning, he's taking the fuck off and shit, and she's still trying to, hold down the fort, last one off the ship and shit. And he has to drag her to his ship to save her life. Once again, she's like, this guy, like, I know I shouldn't like him, but fuck, he's always got my back. And like, I'm sure on some level she's like, he only wants to fuck me. But it goes deeper than that. He joins her whole fucking cause, man. It's one of the great love stories in movies, and it wasn't as explored as it could have been. But thank God it's there at all, because it created a sense of romance in me.
Yeah, for sure. And like in the same way that George Lucas was obsessed with things that he saw as a kid, that romance is screwball romance from the jump. Like it is all like His Girl Friday and The Thin Man and all of those great, Myrna Loy and Dick Powell kind of things from the 30s and the 40s. And then Lawrence Kasdan was like, yeah, all right, sure, I can write this dialogue. I can make him the, dashing rogue who shouldn't be with her and she shouldn't be with him. But, circumstances, it would later be Romancing the Stone, which is a Robert Zemeckis movie. But that was the other sort of like, here's this woman who is kind of pristine and nice, and here's this dude who's kind of dirty, and circumstances force them together, and they find love in ridiculous places. And yeah, it is all that shit. It's all an old 30, 40 screwball comedy stuff, and I love it to death.
Kids, when we first saw this movie, Ian McDiarmid wasn't in it, particularly to this degree. This scene did exist with Darth Vader kneeling on that platform. So fucking metal, man, where he's just like, my lord and shit. But it
was way static here. Like you could barely see the face of the Emperor before.
I agree. You didn't know who it was. Made it even creepier and shit. And he didn't look like this. They didn't have as much makeup. But that scene is like, when he's like the son of Skywalker. Nobody refers to him as your kid. He never goes, your boy, your child with a woman and shit. He just keeps calling him the son of Skywalker. And then he's like, how could this be true? And he goes, search your feelings. That's the first hint, if you're paying close attention, like that there must be some sort of connection, because why would he tell a rando to search his feelings about some other rando who may or may not, you know what I'm saying? Like clearly,
totally,
his search your feelings is his way of saying, bro, that's Padme's kid. You and Padme and you, but we don't call you no more because, the suit.
And it's the first time, I think, that we see somebody like bigger, higher up on the evil totem pole than Vader. Like that's our first real.
Well, Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars was technically his boss, and he answered to him. Vader appeared as muscle to Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars, but this is like where you meet his fucking boss. There's no reference, I don't think, to an emperor in Star Wars at all. I think
no, but I mean, you always got the feeling that like Vader was never afraid of Tarkin.
Do you remember if there was any reference whatsoever to an emperor in Star Wars?
I don't think there was. I don't think there was. I think it's just like Moff Tarkin seems to like, I'm the captain of this ship. And Vader, was like, I'm kind of the big heavy here, even though I'll kind of do what you say and then ignore you when, shit goes and, shit hits the fan. I'm going to get in my fighter. I'm going to deal with this myself. But yeah, I don't think that there's ever a sense that Vader is working at the behest of somebody more powerful than he is.
Yeah, Vader, you could make the argument in Star Wars is like Odd Job with more lines. Like he's technically there to be the Grand Moff Tarkin's muscle because Grand Moff Tarkin shuts him down when he's like, enough, Vader, and makes him stop and shit. But this is the first time you meet Vader's actual boss. But yeah, it's true. This movie introduces the Emperor. For the first time, the notion in this weird video hologram that we saw, but the one that's in this movie is an incredibly good hologram.
Yeah, and it's the first time that like not only is there an emperor, somebody above Vader, but it's somebody Vader's afraid of. And you never got the feeling that Vader was afraid of Tarkin. It's like, yeah, I mean, I guess you outrank me a little bit, but I'm going to do what I fucking want to do. I'm going to go.
We never saw him bend the knee to Grand Moff Tarkin. He fucking bends the knee to this guy.
He bends it strong and fierce, but he still bends it nonetheless.
This is, the scene in Yoda's house is fun for a kid because you imagine like, oh, I wish I had this in my backyard. I'd be fucking Yoda. But this moment in this scene is where all of a sudden Yoda starts talking to somebody else, and Luke realizes that he's not being taken to Yoda. He is Yoda. All this time he's been like, this little fucking green fuck, just take me to Yoda. He's a great warrior and a Jedi master and stuff. And this is where, he realizes, oh shit, like this is the guy I actually came to see. Yeah. Here you're right. Like the Empire is clearing the asteroid field, and now they're just dropping bombs from TIE bombers to try to shake out the Millennium Falcon. They know they're in there, actually. It's no longer like we're looking for him.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful shot. Her alone in the cockpit and shit.
Oh, Irvin Kershner directed the shit out of this movie.
Really did. It's a beautiful movie. What else? I know he did Never Say Never Again later on, the James Bond movie, but what had he done prior to this? Anybody know?
I'm not entirely sure.
I mean, it's so crazy. Ooh, the Minox. So, all right, so let's analyze the scene. Are they in the thing's belly or are they in the thing's lair?
I feel like all of that smoke on the ground is that they're on that thing's belly.
I just want to point out that that's the least futuristic or space-looking set of goggles. Like, that would never stand in any other Star Wars movie. They would gack it up and make it their brand and shit. But that's literally just a pair of welding goggles from, you know, maybe Sears at the time or something like that. There's that famous door, man. I walked on one, not that one, but on the Millennium Falcon for Force Awakens and shit. And when I walked up that ramp, I really felt, this is what I thought of. I was like, oh my God, just like when they fucking ran from the Minox.
My one great sort of, like, I guess, quarantine regret is that before this all went down, I never made it to Galaxy's Edge at Disney World. I've never done the ride. I've never done the Rise of the Resistance. Like, none of that shit.
Me neither. That's what we do when we get to come back, man. That's a reason to go to Disney.
Oh, yeah,
Disneyland.
All right,
tell you, man, as an action figure collector, they had, you could cut out your UPC symbols or your proof of purchase, if you will, rather, and send in a few. And they sent a Minox mask kit where you could get the masks that you put over.
Oh, that's so cool.
Your figures, man. It was pretty dope.
That's not an N95 mask, though, is it?
Not at all. That shit. Well, actually, these cats predicted the quarantine, man.
They did.
In fact, I want my quarantine mask to look like their mask and shit. They pulled out Minox masks, I think, in Force Awakens. All right, so he just fired at the ground. My whole life thought they were in something's belly, but it could be that they're on top of a fucking thing.
I don't think so, because when they fly, when they get in the Falcon and they go out, they're flying then through that thing's teeth as they escape. So I think it's a confused thesis. I think he's trying to have his cake and eat it too.
Look, he calls her sweetheart and stuff like that. Sit down, sweetheart.
Yeah,
would have been like, I'd be a lot nicer. Oh, you're right. There it is. They're in the thing's belly because that's a mouth. That's no cave. That's no moon. Yeah.
There's your sandworm. If you walk without rhythm,
this thing,
you can't.
This thing sleeps with its mouth open then because they fucking flew right into it and it didn't even notice. Nor did we. So it must have been. It didn't fly through teeth. It must have been sleeping like, and fucking the ship flew right in. Yeah. Here's day 2 of only 3 days of training it takes to be a Jedi, apparently. And that training is more of a physical workout than anything else, right? It's like, run around with me on your back. Do some flips.
Yeah. All right. So Irving Kershner's directorial career. There's a lot of TV in the front end of it. Shit like Philip Marlowe and The Rebel, Kane's 100, Naked City, Craft, Suspense Theater. The Return of a Man Called Horse. Then he does The Eyes of Laura Mars, this 1978 horror movie. Then Empire,
with Faye Dunaway. Dunaway in that movie.
Empire, then Never Say Never Again. Then an episode of Amazing Stories, RoboCop 2, and his last credit is an episode of Sequest 2032 in 1993.
He directed RoboCop 2. That's right. I remember.
Yeah. And like you would think, like, not for nothing, but if today he's a dude who comes on and directs a fucking giant Star Wars movie, like the sky's the limit for you after that. You know, like if he's the fucking Russos. You know, like, what else you want to do, man? What do you got? We got giant franchises over here. We got franchises over there. You want to do a Fast and Furious? Want to do whatever? Like, he's a dude who then went from there to, like, the kind of off-brand James Bond movie, and then television, and then RoboCop 2, and then it feels like there should have been a trajectory as opposed to a gentle decline, which is too bad. Now, you know, listen, I've seen this movie a lot. I've seen this movie
I bet you
an awful lot. Dagobah, it always bores the shit out of me, man. Like, you know, I love this movie.
I agree. This is my least favorite aspect is Dagobah. It's just like, move on, man. Except when he comes face to face with Darth Vader in the tree. But we get a lot of that later on in the movie. So, and this one isn't even real Darth Vader. It's like, you had a vision. So even then I was like, this sequence blows. I mean, it's still, I loved Yoda as a kid, so I was happy to watch it. But in retrospect, there's no the least interesting aspect. Yeah, that's right. He's in training. I mean, think about it. Was the Rey stuff in Last Jedi, her training, more compelling? Because there's no conflict there really either.
Yeah, I mean, but it's not like a kind of 20-minute, we're just dropping anchor for this guy to go away to sleepaway camp and learn how to be a Jedi. You know, they don't do that with Rey. Even in Rise of Skywalker, that's just like a 5-minute she's running through the forest stuff. Where this is the middle of the movie for your protagonist, and he's just kind of like he's convincing an old guy to climb on his back and run through the friggin' jungle. And then this, when he actually does get to face with Darth Vader, is kind of cool. But it's not the driving force of the sequence. And so every time I've seen it since, like when I went to the theater and saw the special editions, when I saw them again, when they had like as a marathon before Rise of Skywalker, I'm not off in this part, man. Like,
you know what's weird to me is he's running around with no shirt on, and then he gets Yoda off his back, and then he's like, I'm going to go in the tree, and he puts his jacket on. He gets dressed to do that. Like, who puts their jacket on after they're running around? They're all overheated and shit, and you're going to go underground. But all is forgiven because holy fuck.
This is awesome.
Slow-mo. Who draws first? Who lights? Oh, Luke's is already lit.
Yeah.
And then
Luke is like, I'm
Vader
not
pulls
fucking around here. And because Luke
this
ready.
Vader is not the Vader from Rogue One. I mean, granted, it's only a vision, because look how quickly Luke wins. Pa-pap! Oh, shit. He cut his fucking head off. That's the only time, who gets decapitated? Count Dooku. And George was in charge of that trilogy, man. What a metal choice to have him cut his head off, even though it was just a vision. But they didn't make it real clear that it was just a vision when I was a kid. Like, watch what happens at the end of this sequence, man. Like, fucking, they cut to Yoda, and he's, like, playing with his stick and shit. But it's not like Luke comes out and he goes, holy fuck, I saw a vision of my dad. Like,
cut his head off.
Like, there's nothing there. There's, like, literally nothing happens in that fucking scene. Like, he sees this thing. Oh, fuck all that. Because here come the bounty hunters, man.
Yes.
Oh, fucking. This world-building son of a bitch, Lucas, was a genius. Just threw in characters you never even fucked around with beyond this scene, man.
Yeah.
And I was willing to buy figures. Bosk! And there's Forlom.
It would make the world so much bigger, and it's so easy. Just like, who are all of these? They're all badasses. There's bounty hunters in this universe. This is super fucking cool. I gotta get all these figures. Who's that guy? And that guy? What does that guy do? That guy. Ooh.
Ooh. John Favreau was so smart to bring IG-11 into it, because I loved IG-88, and you never got enough backstory on him. There's another bounty hunter in there, a human dude who's all fucked up, called Dengar. He don't get a lot of screen time and shit.
No, poor guy.
But that was it. That bounty hunter scene is that fucking quick, man, and it made such an impact on me and a lot of people as a kid. You know, Boba Fett gets a little more screen time, but like, it was so cool, man. And you were like, for the rest of the movie, please do it again. Go back, show us more fucking bodyguards. As a kid, I remember feeling. I felt bad as a kid for Han Solo that his fucking car wouldn't start all the time. Like, I was always like, what a fucking bummer, man. Like, everyone's looking to you for fucking, like, you gotta save us. And you're like,
and I got this cool ride and everything. But it don't have no brakes. But still.
I knew a lot of Han Solos in my hometown of Highlands, New Jersey, man. None of us had a fucking cherry ship, right? Everyone had a kind of broken down beater and stuff like that. So, Princess Leia, she's not used to working around ships that break down and shit. You know, she comes from money. But, like, this pauper and shit, he's like, I'm lucky I got a spaceship at all and shit. So, I think where I was born and how I was raised made me feel for Han Solo, man. I bet she had a little bit of, like, not shame, but, like, embarrassment. Like, yeah, this is my fucking car. But, it works, and it saved your fucking life, didn't it?
Yeah, more than once. I do like that, like him charging at the Star Destroyer, even though like he's moving into attack position, is the like I'm in the spaceship equivalent of Han Solo running around the corner on the Death Star, just screaming at the top of his lungs with blasters, chasing after stormtroopers. Like I don't know what to do. I'm gonna run right into it.
Here's more. I mean, based on all this shit, we could be Jedis. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I mean, I can't do the rock. I could put rocks on top of other rocks. And I could do a handstand. If you put a puppet on my feet, I'll be okay with that.
But again, like this.
Look at the guns. Oh, shit. Did you see fucking Yoda coming? Oh, Yoda's old face. Oh.
But the last time we saw Luke use the Force, he barely got his lightsaber out of the ice on Hoth, which like was 2 days ago. And
that was impressive, too.
And impressive. But now this motherfucker is stacking rocks and doing headstands and shit. Like, this is 2-3 weeks into training. This is not like the day after.
Never mind that. His teacher wants him to lift a whole plane. Like, you know, if I'm Luke, I'm like, you're not impressed with the rocks? Like, fuck.
Like, always with you, what cannot be done.
Yeah, this is where he drops wisdom. This is where he gets all kung fu on him and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But as a kid, that didn't really sink in first viewing. I didn't walk out of Empire Strikes Back going like, I feel wizened. You know,
like I learned some shit from the Shaolin monks, man. You told me some stuff to take with me for the rest of my days.
Some real good life advice, man. Instead, I walked out of this movie going, the fuck's going to happen to Han? Will they save Han? Like, never mind what happened before. That's what stuck me the most. This movie was the end game of its time. The way that, like, people fucking screamed at the theater and fucking interacted, and there were big epic moments and shit. This movie was absolutely full of those as well, man. Feel good, wonderful moments, fucking shocking moments, big losses. There are actual stakes. I mean, I guess it's more like Infinity War, because Infinity War, all the bad shit happens and whatnot. But it is the high bar by which every screenwriter or every fucking pop culture fan is always like, well, or certainly every Star Wars fan is like, well, is it as good as Empire? ... BBC just did an article recently, I think it was BBC, on like, you know, is Empire really all that? I don't think so. And I didn't even bother reading because I'm like, look, I don't know much in life, but I know this is a damn near perfect movie, if not the perfect movie. So come at it and you come at me.
Yeah, no, there's definitely like hot take theater has seemed to give birth to a bunch of people who have never seen, like, I'm 12 years old and now I'm watching a thing that you loved when you were 12 years old. And you know what? It's not so good. And I say to them, fuck you. Just a little bit. Like, context
Marc,
is everything.
I don't know if you've noticed, Marc, sometimes it takes going into adulthood to see this kind of symbolism in a movie. But I'm pretty sure that the puppet is talking about Jesus.
Is he really? I mean,
he's like, he's in the rock, he's in the tree, he's in the air. Look over there. I mean, that's how I was sold Jesus as a kid. So,
I mean, it sounds more Dr. Seuss to me than Jesus. Is it a rock? Is it a clock? Is it a bear? Is it over there? Trust me, not by my size, do you?
A lot of holy books sound very Seussian when you break them down and stuff. This guy with the cane and shit, you know, in a modern take on Yoda, at one point he would fucking pull the cane apart and it would have a light up lightsaber underneath.
Yep.
It's like, why the fuck do you think I carried this forever? Yeah.
Here's the Yoda flex.
You know, I think this scene's a little too long, Marc. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a great filmmaker myself, so I got no business criticizing, but too long for the Yoda puppet lifting the X-Wing out of the... They really pulled the taffy on this. This needed to be about half the length of what it is. It wouldn't stand in a current movie. People would be like, move on! Hurry the fuck up! Get back to Han!
What you would have wanted to do is, like, you want to cut away from Luke failing, go do something else, and then you cut back and Yoda's lifting it just so it's not a 12-minute scene. But it's saved by the Yoda flex of, you know, you couldn't do it, watch me, motherfucker. And then the score. Like, this John Williams bit of music. John Williams is just fucking killing this.
You know, John Williams too was just like, ooh, shit, leave that in. That gives me something cool to fucking score. Like, that's the star of this long ass fucking sequence, with him lifting the X-Wing out of the water, is that score. And then, of course, we did this later on in Rise of Skywalker. Remember? In Last Jedi, he wouldn't lift it out of the water, but in Rise of Skywalker, didn't he lift some ship out of the water and shit?
He, even though he's dead, yes, Force Ghost does pull out his old Red 5 standing by.
Oh, look at that's cold. That's cold, Yoda. He's like, that is why you fail. Man, loser. Man, you are canceled. Man, I'm the best. This motherfucker, like,
he's just going
nobody
through
wants
people.
to work for Darth Vader, man. Like, forget it. If I worked for Darth Vader at Quick Stop, I wouldn't have lasted a day. He would have been choking me out right away.
No, Imperial business management skills leave something to be desired.
This is probably the most immature thought I'll have about this movie, Mark, but I'm going to share it with you.
Please do.
If you're somebody who's about to get choked to death by Darth Vader, don't you think your last move is to quick tug one out? Because, they say, you're going to die anyway. You've seen him choke people out. I would jam my hand on my pants and be like, no, fuck you, motherfucker. I'm going to come while it happens. And I would die in ecstasy.
And maybe he would like stop. And you'd be like, what is he doing? Is he? No, impossible.
I tell you, man, my action would cut his legs out from under him harder core than Obi-Wan did it in Revenge of the fucking Sith. Thank you.
Or just never tell Vader bad news. Just be like, hey, everything's fine. Everything's great. I'm talk to Lieutenant Johnson over here. Everything's great by me. Never tell him bad news.
I like the fact that he's like, we're gonna float away with the fucking garbage. They just shut this guy off so they can maybe make out, and she does.
Which is so fucked up.
So fucked up. Well, even more fucked up is when they start fucking, they turn him back on so we can watch Mark. Star Cuck 2. I see 3PO. This is like, doesn't she's about to this is what Lando.
Yeah,
the Lando system. Lando system. That's not a system. He's a man. He sure is, man. He's the man that made my mom go see this movie.
He's a card player.
Scoundrel. We saw that. He's Donald Glover, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, but no, the cinematography in the scene is great. Just look at this, the blues and the yellows, and it's gorgeous.
They go to a mining colony. What the fuck are they mining? Just air? Because they say it's Tabana gas. So because they're not connected to anything. They're floating in the goddamn sky.
Yeah, it's like they're in fucking like Saturn or Jupiter or whatever. To use regular terrestrial ideas. But I guess it's gas mining, which seems weird.
So they're just pulling it from the air. So when Luke goes sliding down the tube and shit, here, look, she's going to give him a fucking kiss. And this dude is just like, you went running. Like, what's a story, Morning Glory? Do you like me? Don't you like me? I don't know. If I was him, I would not be bitching at C-3PO. I'd turn him back on and be like, he'd be my buddy. That I'd be like, what do I do? Does this girl even like me? Does she ever talk about me? I heard you say earlier that you were in her bedroom back on Hoth and shit like that. You knew the temperature. So, like, you know her. Like, you've been around her. You were around that circular table when we went and warred in the stars. Ooh! It's the Mandalorian! Version 1. There he is, man. He's the bad Mandalorian, I would imagine. I mean, like
Bendo.
Or is he? Is Boba Fett? Mando seems to have a code, and he's a good guy at the end of the day. But Boba Fett, codeless.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem as if Boba Fett is following the way. It seems as like he's lost the way.
How long before they reference Boba Fett on the Mandalorian? You think?
Oh, if it's not, all over season 2, it feels as if it's a wasted opportunity at some point.
Really? You gotta at least lay reference to, may have somebody talk about the one that got eaten by a Sarlacc, and then lay a little track and be like, I always heard he got out, so that you could fucking Mando versus Boba and shit like that.
Dude, if that is the season finale of season 2.
Jon Favreau, you listening? He's like, no. I'm off being creative and I'm setting the fucking tones of pop culture. You think I'm listening to your fucking podcast? No,
we shot season 3 in my backyard.
This is where Luke is all of a sudden like, all right, I gotta go.
I saw the future.
See, why didn't they kill 2 birds with 1 stone and have him see the future inside the tree? You know what I'm saying?
You'd have thought.
Like, he could have had a vision of them at that dinner table and be like, oh my God, they all went to dinner without me. Holy shit, Darth Vader's there. Like, instead of doing a poetic thing, like him fighting Darth Vader and then finding out that he's fighting himself.
Yeah.
Now, Yoda's strong. He's got the Force. He can fucking keep this guy here. But he's cool. He's just like, look, I don't care when you come stay, lay or pray. If you want to go, be my guest. Just know that 3 days is not a Jedi make. And yet, in the fucking other movie, like in Return of the Jedi, like, he's a Jedi now.
Yeah, he's fine. You got this. You came back for
One of
another
the
week.
cheapest Star Wars vehicles that you can buy as the Kenner toy collection was the twin pod cloud car, Marc Bernard, and it's $7.99. Yeah, two guys, $5.99. It had no beeping lights. It just had stickers you could apply and open windows so you could put the figures in and landing gear. But still, like, any relative could get you a Star Wars toy, because they had plenty of Bespin twin pod cloud cars on the two guys, Bradley's and Kmart shelves, and be like, look, I'm interested. I know what you're interested in and shit. And so I had maybe 4, 5 twin pod cloud cars and shit because it was the go-to cheap gift. I guess it was on sale for like $3.99. So I got a fleet of them. I'm like, nobody thinks to get me a TIE fighter? I don't have one of those. Those were expensive because they beeped and fucking the wings popped off and shit. Here we are, Bespin.
Here's some new CG shit because none of this was in the OG. Like,
Yeah,
just that
good
landing
point.
platform. The landing
Good
platform
fucking
is
point.
old, but everything else.
And it was enough. And we liked it. Oh, how we loved it. But yeah, he used this fucking addition to beef it up, and Bespin suddenly looks vast and stuff like that.
And
I think there's like
Coruscant.
a lot like Coruscant. You're absolutely right. Yeah, man, I want to know, does anybody know out there, how do you mine gas from the air? Because there's no connection to a planet or anything like that. There's no...
Like, are they hovering there?
Yeah. So they must be mining it from the air. Gas is in the air and shit. So when Luke goes sliding down, is he choking on gas down there? Where he's just like, it's straight up Tabata gas. There's no oxygen.
And would he keep falling? Would he keep falling into the center of a planet?
Or is the gas so heavy it might have caught him if he would have let go? And here comes the greatest character in fucking Empire Strikes Back, Lobot, the guy right behind Lando. The bald guy who gave every bald guy in America hope that they too could be in a Star Wars movie. They saw that guy show up and they were like, that's me. I'm Lobot. And he's wearing headphones and shit. He's got his headphones on, his Sony Walkman, years in advance and shit. More of him. Did he pop up in anything else recently?
I don't. Fuck. Is he in the JJ / Ryan?
I heard there was that they wanted to have him in Rise of Skywalker, and maybe he got cut for time or something. But that would have been a deep cuts fucking reference if Lando was like still hanging out with Lobot, and you're like, his fucking bald manservant with the headphones. Is Lobot a human or cyborg? Are those things just his like fucking air traffic controller headphones, or is he half man, half machine?
Is he like RoboCop?
Is he Westworld? Is he a host?
Ooh, crossover.
Once again, everybody leaving C-3PO behind, even though he's the only one that can speak every fucking language. So you're going to run into a bunch of Ugnaughts. You don't want that fucking guy around because you ain't going to know when he's like fucking, I have spoken, and walks away and shit like that.
Well, the one language that he can't speak is the language of love because Lando's about to go fuck Princess Leia, and I don't need you.
You ain't kidding. And look how he's doing it. Take notes, kids. He's not even walking next to her. He's leaving her in the dust, just walking with Han. He's like, I'm going to play my move by not being interested in her and stuff. But he's got the
my
cape
a lot.
Cape wins all. That's true. That's
Cape
maybe
wins
why
all.
he's walking in front. He's showing off the ass view and the cape. And she's sitting there going, cape, man. Because she comes from like cape world to some degree, right?
Yeah. And then again, the other cape that she saw was Vader's cape. And it's like, ooh, this guy's rocking the nice cape.
Ichuta, that motherfucker cursed him in Huttese, that other 3PO unit. And how weird that a C-3PO sees another 3PO unit and like fucking they don't hang out and shit. But I walk my dog all the time. It's a dachshund. And we see other dachshunds and she don't give a fuck. So I guess this tracks is what I'm saying.
Yeah, whatever. You're a gold one. I'm a silver one. Don't give a fuck.
I know, but it's like, we've never seen another C-3PO in this movie, and this guy isn't like, hey, we should hang out. And the other one isn't like, hey, where are you from? Holy fuck, isn't it hard being surrounded by all these people who don't take us seriously? They always leave us behind. They shut us down. Have you ever gotten shut down in the middle of a fucking conversation? Shit like that. But instead, motherfucker walks away and he gets killed for it. He gets punished. Let that learn you something. Now, feel like this particular ghost vision seems very clear. I don't remember it being that clear as a kid. Like, it's no longer a force ghost. He looks like he's in the scene with them.
He's just well lit.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's what they did for the special edition.
Yeah, they just amped him up.
Do you think when Luke's not around, that ghost Kenobi and Yoda hang out?
I mean, I think so. Like, cause whatever the fuck do they have to do? Like, what does a Force Jedi do?
If I was in heaven, I'd come back all the time and hang out with people. I'm not scaring them, but like the ones that had the shining, like fucking Yoda apparently does, so he can talk to the dead. I'd come hang out with them all the time and stuff. I mean, you know, heaven's eternal, they say, and it just keeps going. He's dead. You're dead forever. So, yeah, and you live for such a long time, you know, on Earth. How would you not be interested in what's going on and shit? Like I'm sure he hangs out with them all the time. I'm sure he's like,
Yoda's the Scatman Crothers.
Yes. I bet you they sit around and he's like, remember when we let the boy into the council and I told you not to? But you were like, no, I'm bringing the boy. And that created 9 fucking movies or more. Maybe next time you listen to me. Maybe next time you listen to fucking Yoda. And he's like, this is why I don't come hang out with you as a ghost on Dagobah, because you're so critical and shitty about the past. Get over it. I'm dead. I paid the ultimate price. And Yoda's like, I don't think so. The ultimate price is give me one of them Twix bars that I stole from Luke. Those are good.
So, like, if I remember correctly, is it
Luke does return?
Jinn?
He doesn't break his promise, right? Luke goes back to Dagobah and Return of the Jedi.
But is it Qui-Gon who's the first one who learns, or is it Obi-Wan who learns how to commune with the dead? Right? Is that at the end of like Revenge of the Sith, where he's like, you know, your old master is waiting for you. I can teach you how to talk to the dead. And like, so now Obi-Wan learns it and then teaches everybody else? Or does Yoda know? Like, who's teaching motherfuckers how to talk with dead ghosts?
Who do you think he referenced, Yoda, when he was like, you know, all is lost? And he goes, no, that boy was our last hope, Ben Kenobi says. He goes, no, there is another. Who, in this movie, who did George Lucas and Lawrence Kasdan and Lee Brackett intend as the other?
You know, I would bet you dollars to donuts they didn't know.
I agree. I think they were punting the ball to the next movie.
They're like, let's leave ourselves a little present, and we'll say there's another Jedi out there. We'll figure out who it's going to be. Somebody here, somebody new character, but it's a cool thing to make somebody think about in the 3 years between movies. Who's the other one? Who could it be?
I tell you, man, when I was a kid, all I would think about as a massive fan of the Star Wars movies and a massive Carrie Fisher fan was, like, did they have sex? Like, I saw them kiss, but did they have sex? I think that's why I like Force Awakens so much, because I was like, proof! Because, you know, Kylo Ren and shit. There's the guy. He's like, I have spoken. I have spoken. I have spoken. All of us have spoken.
I'm going to kill this one. We've spoken.
I like the fact that they fucking retcon the fucking Ugnaughts and brought him back. That's why I bet you we may see Tauntauns next season in Mandalorian, man. Because they seem to go for like deep cut poles and shit. And that Ugnaught that fucking Mando hangs out with, that was such a deep cuts pole. Fucking, what's his name? Who did his voice? Reggie.
Oh.
We ain't brothers, we ain't partners, and we ain't friends. Mando.
Nick Nolte.
What was his name?
Nick
Nolte. That's right. That's right. Why don't they do a special edition of this, of Empire, where they get Nick Nolte to voice all the Ugnaughts in that room? I have spoken. I have spoken. I have spoken.
See,
they can literally just get the line once and duplicate it.
I want season 3 of Mandalorian to go and find the old wizened one-armed wampa that's still on Hoth. Just like, let me tell you a story, kid.
He's like, and that's when I went vegan, kids. The day my fucking food cut my arm off, I went plant-based. This is leading to one of the greatest moments in Star Wars history and the greatest unfilmed scene in Star Wars history, man. You weren't seeing this coming as you were sitting there in the movie theater. All this extra scope that you're seeing, that came from George Lucas in the special edition. It was all white walls in our Bespin when we were kids.
I preferred
a random window, no doubt. But watch, the moment these doors open, holy fuck. It still has the same effect on me that it did as a kid. It's an almost Kubrickian shot of Darth Vader sitting at the end of a long fucking table. Han Solo's first instinct is to fucking shoot him. It's like as if the doors open and somebody was like, "It's fucking Hitler," and Han Solo was like, "Holy fuck!" And he's like, got a chance to, without question, he fucking tries to kill this fuck too, man. And then Vader uses the Force and stops it. But what happens next? Do they eat? Vader's sitting down.
Yeah.
Like, does he take off his helmet? Does he force them to watch him eat with that fucked up, corroded head where he's like, and the beans falling out of his mouth? And he's like, don't move because I can still magic the fuck out of you. I wish they would do that scene. Never mind fucking, they're always like, what will save Star Wars or something like that? What will keep Star Wars going? Give us a modern version of the Star Wars Christmas special and give us that scene. Look who's coming to dinner with Vader.
I've been told on good authority that Vader doesn't eat.
Really?
He processes all of his food by his armor. It's like a still suit.
So how cruel. He sat there while they all fucking ate and was just like, don't worry about me. I gave up eating when your fucking buddy, your buddy's friend fucking cut my legs off on a lava planet. Who here's friends with Ben Kenobi? Han's like, I met him. I called him an old man. He was an old man. A leg-cutting old fucking man. I hate his guts. Anyway, please enjoy.
I am intermittent fasting. You all please continue. Don't mind me.
He's like, I'm on a 20/4 hour fast. My feeding window is 4 hours, and we're not in it yet. Chewie putting fucking they were doing some fucking torture porn with Chewie, man, running that the alarm and shit. And because he's like a space dog, it's because he's a space dog, his ears, it probably hurts his ears even more and shit. This is badass. Fucking I wish they would make this as a replica. I wrote that shit into the original version of Mallrats 2. Brody was being fucking tortured on this table, and it was a replica from fucking Sideshow Replicas. Life size. Maybe. Look, Lobot again, man. He's in the background. I always lurking.
With his puffy shirt. Like, he's got the puffiest fucking shirt, too.
That's true, man. He's Seinfeld before Seinfeld happened. If they were brave enough back in that Seinfeld episode, they wouldn't have called it a pirate shirt. They would have been like, that's a Lobot shirt. A modern show today would totally plant that flag and call it the Lobot shirt because they're like, everybody knows the reference. Here's where Lando gets a little choky himself, man. Like, he don't hit him hard, but he gives him the fucking impression of like, I can fuck with you and shit.
This deal is getting worse all the time.
Yeah. And meanwhile, like fucking Boba Fett, who we met for like 1 second on the bridge of that Star Destroyer, get more and more screen time. And as a kid, seeing Boba Fett with Darth Vader with stormtroopers, you're like, everyone in masks, ma'am, and it's like a sea of Doctor Dooms, man. Look, Chewie's not stupid. Why the fuck does he put his head on backwards?
I don't know. Like, he's a fucking, he can fix a spaceship. He can do all kinds of cool, like, you know how his head goes, Chewie. You're just being an asshole about this.
I love Han's performance here, man, where he's like, I don't feel so good. I feel terrible. Those two stormtroopers, I would like to have a conversation with those guys and shit. The two that like dropped him on the floor and walked off. It's like, you know, you're having him on your shoulder. You could have just dragged him and shit. You're showing care until you get to the door, and then you're like, oh, he's got friends in here. And you show him fucking on the floor. And you know when they left, the one of them was like, you know, we didn't have to do it that way. It don't have to be this way, man. And he's like, shut up, Vader's here.
He's watching. He watches everything.
This is get out of here, Orlando. This is I love this as a kid because like betrayal and fucking intrigue and fucking like they thought he was his friend, but like he's a double agent. Like I'd seen that in war movies and stuff like that.
This is some
But I'm
Casablanca
also
shit.
liking it is some Casablanca shit. I'm liking more and more how handsy she's getting with Han Solo. She's always got her hands on him now and shit. But still, no other kiss until, you know, we get into the carbon freezing chamber. They were very stingy with the fucking kisses in this movie, right? Like they kiss in the ship once, and then they kiss right before he goes into the carbon freezing unit.
Yeah,
But
something tells me George didn't understand how kisses work. Where it's like, well,
yeah, but I mean, everything can't be blamed on George. Apparently, Irving Kershner had difficulties with it as well.
yeah, but it's very chaste. Like for a romance, you know, it's very like we
Look at
can't
that
touch each
set.
other.
I wish my bedroom was look like this, but if it did, it wouldn't be this cool ass angle from below, man.
Find a way for me to live in a bedroom in which every angle is from underneath.
And as fucking Darth Vader walks around talking, all those Ugnaughts are like, "I have spoken. I have spoken. I have spoken." He's choking them all out for disrespect, and they're like, "That's just what they say. They're fucking Ugnaughts." It's like period at the end of a sentence. It didn't mean disrespect. Please don't choke out our Ugnaught crew. Who the fuck's gonna run the carbon freezing unit?
Not for nothing,
Lobot
but
can.
Lobot has more screen time than Boba Fett, and there is a parallel universe in which Lobot was a character that we all kind of fetishized and built up in our heads.
It's the universe I live in every day, man. I love Lobot.
It's
More
like,
Lobot,
Boba Fett
less
looks
of
cool,
everything
I
else.
guess, but like Lobot.
Ooh, what a great shot. Iconic shot of them walking up the gangplank. I get high on Lobot. That's all I'm going to say. Lobot also, like, you know, there's a whole fucking movie behind the movie you could do with his character and shit. Like, what's he doing behind the scenes? You know, I'm sure the actor was like, you know, I'm sure the audience wants to know what Lobot is doing. So we should probably tell them. And they're like,
I
Oh,
feel like we
you're-
should call Marvel and we should be like, listen, I know you guys are in the Star Wars comics business. We would like to do a Lobot miniseries.
let me tell you, I could sell the fuck out of a Lobot comic book, man. Darth, look at fucking Boba Fett almost fucking shot the shit out of Chewie. I love this scene when I was a kid, man. This is like they are best friends because he's and that shot. She looks at Vader. Look at that shot. She's like, I hate this space prick. He came at me so hard in the last movie. I ain't seen him since we blew up his big fucking round stupid house and shit. And here he is, like mere feet away from me and shit. But I love this is friendship and love. Oh, as
There
young
it
Kev
is.
Smith, 10 years old. That was everything. I wanted that to be the whole fucking movie and shit. But this movie built who I am today, man. Romance, friendship. Like he's telling his boy, like, no, now's not the time. You gotta protect the princess and shit. And these fuckers are like, we have spoken, and walking away and whatnot. Trying to get in. And the best two lines in movie history, I love you. I know. So fucking good.
I wonder if there's another version of the screenplay where that conversation was like, 2 pages long. You know, in the same way that The Fugitive apparently had a huge, 3-page scene between Tommy Lee Jones and Harrison Ford, where in the movie it says, I didn't kill my wife. And Tommy Lee Jones says, I don't care.
I don't care.
But it had been this whole long speech between them, and those two guys just cut it. This is all that it's about. And so I wonder if there's a version of the screenplay where it's, I love you, but there's no way we can be together because I'm a princess
If
and
it
you're just a
is-
scoundrel.
If there is, the common factor is Harrison Ford, who's like, I don't want to do 3 pages of dialogue. He's like,
Come
we
on.
had this trick worked on Empire. Tommy. Let's try it here on this. I want one of these giant claws, these fucking, the claw, to pick me up out of bed every night. I want to sleep on a carbonite-looking bed. That's why, kids want race car beds. I want my bed to look like a block of carbonite with those lights on the side and shit. And then I just lay there at night and I sleep like this.
And then motherfuckers just push you around the house like, we're going to get breakfast now. Yeah, all right, let's go get breakfast.
Han Solo, like that's a defensive pose, right? Where he's just like,
Yeah.
I mean, is that my defensive pose would be like, I'd wrap my shit around my head, or to be like, I'll suck your dick to pull me out of the carbon freeze. They'd find me like, that's what I'd do. Is a real fuck you to them. I'd do some of this shit.
Although,
when they pulled
weren't
me
his
out, they'd be
hands
like-
bound? Weren't
Yeah, but
hands...
the carbon, the carbon freezing process, I assume, breaks them off. And look, man, this motherfucker had the audacity to call Luke Skywalker. He goes up to Darth Vader. He goes, Skywalker has landed and shit. Darth Vader's all about the last names. He calls Luke Skywalker. He calls Lando Calrissian.
Well, because first names are too friendly.
Yeah, that's true. He's keeping it real. He's like, look, we're keeping it pro here. Such a great scene. Such a great set. Insanely well lit. And they get a lot of use out of this set. When they were budgeting, they're like, yeah, that moment between boys when he's like fucked up, right? When they were budgeting this movie, they were like, look, can we reuse that carbon freezing chamber for the fucking lightsaber fight, man? Because that's going to be a big set.
It's like, oh yeah, we got this.
Luke just bombing around. Oh, I love that shot when I was a kid. He's just bombing around fucking Cloud City. That's like walking around Manhattan and nobody's there. You know what I'm saying? This is like COVID fucking country here.
It's very
like the whole
quarantine.
Fucking place is very quarantining.
It's very like he's just tooling around Century City, and like everything's all white and pretty, and like, where is everybody? Are we sick?
Meanwhile, you got the loudest fucking droid in the world who's going to get you killed in an empty hallway. Oh, shit! Boba Fett taking a shot. Boba Fett, like, do you think Boba Fett flew around for the next, few months and was like, I almost fucking shot Luke Skywalker in the face. He's a little bitch. He's a punk. I don't care about him. And now here comes Lando with his Swatch, the one that fucking I'm going to give to Marc. No, he's got his Apple Watch, and he's fucking sending a text.
His Texas
He's sending a text to Lobot. Exactly. Oh, shit. And look, Lando has this look where he's like, who is that guy? Because he doesn't know who fucking Luke is.
Yeah. It's like, I guess
but I loved when look, see that look where he's like, who the fuck is that? I don't know who Luke is. But I love when she's like, Luke, it's a trap. Oh, that's fucking awesome. We did that. We stole that in Mallrats where, they're like, Renee, get Jay and Silent Bob, hurry, when he's being dragged past. I fucking love this. Oh, this movie starts like, look, all of it's great. But as a kid, now we're done with fucking like the little green guy who'll say inspiring shit that you're like, get back to the fucking wars and the stars. And this is where it all starts coming together, man. And our heroes have been broken up. Like they always say, you can't do that with your heroes in movies. They always say like fucking, like in Last Jedi, they were like, oh, they should have kept fucking Finn and Rey and Poe together, but they didn't do it here in Empire Strikes Back. These motherfuckers barely had any time together. Like one scene in the hospital ward before they're all separated, and then they never get to be together again for the whole fucking movie. That was the closest, where Han's frozen and Leia's there and he's there. It's crazy.
Oh, this scene. Look at that. Oh my God.
Oh,
if I could like convince my wife to let me design a house that looks just like this room, it's impossible. Will never happen. But like I would. Can my office be like?
I'll tell you what. If you have a dog, it would hide a lot of dog shit on the floor. That would be the only problem. You'd be stepping in shit, and then it gets into the grating and fucking try digging dog shit out of that metal, Marc. That's a nightmare. I don't want that. All that polishing, then you're definitely getting yourself a housekeeper because you keeping that up? I don't think so.
Yeah, no. What are you doing? Just buffing out this fucking floor again.
And you're constantly running a smoke machine, which, as we all know, that stuff's not good to be ingesting on a regular basis and stuff.
No.
So
you turn off the smoke machine?
I know, but then it don't look like this. Then it's like, oh, this is like when you see Batman's costume in daylight. How come Darth Vader's costume still works in daylight? Yeah, the Bespin soldiers, man. The Bespin, I had those figures as well.
The Bespin irregulars. We got this.
Look how happy Lobot is. He's so self-satisfied and shit. Like he had a big smile on his face. Like, fuck these guys. Do you think that they take him and kill those stormtroopers, or do they just put him in a closet somewhere?
Just stay here. Don't make any noises. We'll be right back.
Don't. Oh, look at this. This is so awesome when Chewie's like, fuck you. You killed my boy. This is what he should have done to fucking Kylo Ren after he took out Han Solo. He should have choked the fucking shit out of that piece of shit.
It was the Dukes. It was the Dukes.
Han! Still time to save Han!
It sounds like Han. Yeah, we speak English, motherfucker.
Does he say Han or Han? Is he the one that
Han.
mispronounces it?
He says Han.
Everyone else, she's like Han. And C-3PO making apologies for his friends, man.
He's
Oh,
only
one of the
looking.
coolest shots in the movie, man. When you were a kid, you were like, look at his ship, Slave One. They only showed it this shot and when it takes off, and they still made a toy of it and sold that toy. And that toy came with the only Han Solo in carbonite action figure. It wasn't a real figure. It was just a piece of plastic. And then later on, they made a figure that you could pull out of the carbonite. It wasn't quite the same thing.
I always wanted the Han carbonite coffee table.
Yes.
But that also feels a little morbid unless, like, that's your jam. We're like, yeah, I want a frozen dude and then put glass and, like, rest my drinks on. But still.
Unless they see a good coffee table would be like frozen Jar Jar. Oh, look how sad she is, man. Like, there he goes. That good D that I was looking for. He's my hero. Fuck. Off he goes. There goes my hero. And then she's right back into the Star War. I find her character compelling as fuck, man. Because she's royalty, but she's also, like, for as long as we see her in all these movies, a fucking soldier. Did you see him give the fucking point at Luke in this? Where he's like, you piece of shit. Luke
You've
should
learned
cut his
much, but
finger off.
not enough.
Look at Vader doing a dive, man. Like, fucking, that counts as action back in 1980, man. Where he's like,
just
going to dive off the front step. That's the Vader from Rogue One, the guy that's like, I'm going to jump at you and shit. But even in Rogue One, he was more tough than this.
But yeah, like, I buy Leia getting the promotion to
sweet.
general. You know, like, because you see that shit. You see her holding guns, shooting at people, like, planning strategy, talking to her men. Like, yeah, for sure.
But even when she's got, like, you know, oh, she sees her love take off, she doesn't even get time to mourn, man. She's like, back at it, pew, 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 pew. She was a fighter, a warrior. Her whole life she was fighting, except for, like, the period between the movies when they had the baby, I guess, when they had Kylo Ren.
Most impressive.
Could you imagine you fighting
Don't
Darth
you
Vader and you use, like, a fire extinguisher and push it in his face? Like, that's your big fucking move.
And it kind of works because he's like, ah! Like, that worked.
Yeah, he's like, oh, fuck. My breathing apparatus. You're overtaxing it.
Flip.
Pretty good flip for 1980.
That fucking flip sent me to, like, gymnastics classes. I was like, because I want to flip too. Like, Luke Skywalker's flipping around. Teach me how to do that shit. They never really could. But I still went
Look
for
at this.
2 years.
How on earth does this Mary Sue get the upper hand on Darth Vader, I'm asking? He kicked him off the fucking platform. He had 2.5 days of training, Mark, and somehow he kicks Darth Vader off the platform. Retcon. That shot of him in the tunnel looks so cool. It was in so many pre-release shots and in many cards. See, kids. Oh, this is a great scene, of course, where he breaks the window and shit. But when we were young, we couldn't just like, ooh, the movie comes out, you know, in 3 months and streaming, or ooh, the movie comes out on video in fucking a year or something like that. You relived the adventure primarily through Star Wars cards. And I had all the Empire Strikes Back cards, man. And that all this artwork, like they had stills for everything and stuff. And I remember him in that tunnel. That was one of the big pictures and stuff. Did you collect the cards, Mark?
I had the cards. I had, like, the photo books they also put out that had, like, 20, 30 pages of just stills from it. You'd get, like, your Starlog magazine back in the day and just, ooh, look at all these pictures. But yeah.
I would just like to point out that this lightsaber battle is so basic, I could have directed it and did in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. My blunt saber fight is about as fucking active as this fight. So, you know, I'm not an action visionary, man. I just do what I see. And that's what I saw growing up. I was like, this counts as action? And it was action. Fuck anybody says that ain't an action scene, man. Just because it don't have a zillion cuts to it, because Michael Bay didn't fit 100 cuts in there. But still, we've all seen that video online where they take the Star Wars scene with Ben Kenobi and the guy fucking recreates it. And it's like legit. Oh, that was so good. He should do that with this too.
I remember seeing the behind the scenes of that sequence. It was maybe the first behind the scenes thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. And they just show you all of the crew hands off camera throwing things at Mark Hamill. And he's like,
This was added. That shot of people in the hallway, this big exterior, all that shit was added, man. Took away from Lando. It was a close-up of him talking most of the time.
Just unnecessary. You know. And then, like, the dude who had to do the running jump backwards through the thing. I was like, oh, this is how you do it? I kind of don't want to know how you do it, because it's cooler that Darth Vader's using his mind.
This is what LA is going to look like when they lift the quarantine. Motherfuckers just running through the hallways.
And everybody loses their cape. Like, what happened to Lando's cape?
See that, that fucking resort that they're building and shit? They should build one that's Bespin themed. Because look, windows. You just walk around inside and be inside the attraction, never interacting with the real world. They're doing that with their hotels, putting in windows that you could see the fucking stars and shit. I demand a Bespin hotel.
That'll be the underground.
I got a hot take. Can I share a hot take with you?
Please do.
I don't like Princess Leia's Leia buns as much as I like her hair in this sequence in Empire Strikes Back. I'm more partial to the Leia hair from this movie. That was when I fell in love with both Princess Leia and Carrie Fisher. Star Wars, not so much, but this movie, this strong woman, man, who had this soft, vulnerable side, who could like lead an army, but also fall for a pirate and and return fucking fire, always in charge and shit like that. Like, this is where, I'm like, probably every fucking woman I ever go for in my life is set by Princess Leia. The tone is set by Princess Leia. I'm looking for Princess Leia over and over and over again. Well, I
don't dig like the I don't dig the ringlets that's happening here, but that like the Hoth little circlet of hair, that's the one.
Yeah? See, it's the ringlets that I go for and shit. The dangling hairs, the hoops, if you will.
The hoopty-doops?
Wait, so these motherfuckers got away in quite a similar fashion as Boba Fett did, just in time and stuff. Meanwhile, this fight ain't over. Look at these giant sets, man. Like, this is blue screen, because I've seen pictures of like...
Yeah, that's a drawing. Like, that's one of those rear projection jammy jams.
It's a matte painting, yeah. It's a matte painting from back in the day. Look at that fucking bitch move where Vader just comes out of like, comes out of nowhere like fucking Jack Nicholson in The Shining. He's like, ah! And he puts it into Luke's chest and shit. Bang, bang, so bang, good. Bang. Yeah, man, this is action to me. I know like nowadays it would be a lot more going on, but like, that's pretty good right there. And think about it. And while they're making this flick, they're like, what a beautiful shot. And it looks like it's real. Like they're in this giant place that nobody has ever seen in a movie before.
Oh, hell yeah.
Don't let yourself be destroyed as Obi-Wan was. That's a trigger for Luke Skywalker, man, because he loved that old man and shit. That old man got him off the planet and whatnot. Oh! There it is. The hand. The moment where as we said in 1980, shit just got real. Like, up until then, high adventure in the sky. This guy cut his fucking hand off. And that was shocking enough. You could have went to credits after that, and we would have all been like, holy fuck, he cut Luke's hand off. What's going to happen in the third movie? And the big shock isn't even coming. It isn't even happening. It's about to happen here. The double whammy of, I will cut your fucking hand off and tell you who your father is. And guess what?
If you only knew the power of the dark side. Old Mima never told you what happened to your father. You killed him! He told me in love!
Look at this shit, man. He's right now, these guys are writing Kill Bill Volume 2. They are writing Thor, Ragnarok. They're writing every familial fantasy movie or not even fantasy and shit like that. Like that whole I am your, that didn't come from anything else that I know of.
Nope.
It's not like, oh, he stole that from fucking Gone with the Wind when fucking Rhett Butler was like, frankly, my dear, I am your father. That would have been really fucking weird. So it was the first time in a movie where like you were like, and not even just for kids, I think for adults too. I think a bunch of adults were like, well, I didn't see that coming. Holy fucking shit. And there was no internet to spoil it and whatnot. It was nuts. But, and when I went to see it, I didn't get to see Star Wars on opening day. And that secret kept. It's not like anybody told anybody or anything like that.
No, not at all. And, the other thing that I remember digging up was that David Prowse, who played, he was in the suit, they gave him different lines. Like, he didn't know that the father reveal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I wonder if they knew they were going to do it and were just keeping it secret, or if he was in post and somebody was like, look, you don't have to loop lines. Well, no, because they needed to. So what the fuck did he say? Because Luke has that reaction of, no, it can't be true. So he must have just been like, fucking your dad went evil or something like that.
It was
maybe that's what he was acting to.
Prowse, who spoke all of Vader's lines during filming, was given a false page that contained dialogue of the revelatory line being, "No, Obi-Wan killed your father." And they told Hamill, they told Hamill moments before the cameras rolled on his close-up, and he didn't tell anybody, including his wife. And Ford apparently didn't learn the truth until he watched the actual movie.
Is that right? So while they're making the movie, they didn't even know. So Lucas kept that so close to the vest.
Yeah.
That's nuts. So, but Lucas had to know when he was making the movie because
he had to tell Hamill, like, you're reacting to, he's your dad.
Yeah, and Mark Hamill has never said, I didn't fucking know. He said that, like, he knew. He didn't. I don't know if he said seconds before, but he definitely found out.
Yeah.
Luke using the Force to call out to Leia. I remember being like, oh, I don't want these two getting back together and shit. 'Cause the sister thing, I like her and Han. I'm like, they belong together. Sister thing hasn't been a factor yet. We still don't know that these two are related, correct?
We don't, although if you had to put this sequence where he's calling out to her and the there is another together, then, like, maybe Lucas was, if you hadn't landed on it, at the very least, there's more going on between them, and at least more than with her relationship to the Force than he had talked about before. That had ever been in the movies before.
That shot used to just be in Empire originally, just Darth Vader walking down the hall with stormtroopers going like, alert my ship, I'm ready. And then they did for the extended version, like an exterior shot and shit like that. But I remember being a kid and being like, that shot was so pointless. Like, you had him and a bunch of stormtroopers that looked so cool, but all he said was like, I'm leaving. As he walks down the hallway. No more like, like, if I would have been, they could have looped anything into that scene, so they should have had him be like, so then I told this son of a bitch I was his dad, and the stormtroopers were like, ha, 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 ha.
But really, though? Really?
This is dope right here, man. We never got to see this part of the Falcon in many movies where he gets to go up to this little boom tube elevator and shit. And I love that he harnessed himself in so he don't get fucking blown away. That must have been from, like, the army or some such shit, like something based in reality.
Yeah. Well, I wonder why Leia doesn't go get him. Like, why would they trust? I mean, I guess this is now the vote of confidence for Lando. Like, you have to go get Luke. Luke who? No, you do it. I have to go fly.
Maybe they were like, we're still not sure on Lando, so if he gets blown away up there. But you're right. She should have been the one that was like, I'll go get Luke. He's my good friend who I kiss sometimes. So still, at this point in the movie, we don't know that they're related. So I wonder when she has the conversation with Luke to be like, hey, man, while we were in space, I was making out with Han. So stop kissing. Don't kiss me anymore.
Yeah, we can't be fuck buddies anymore.
Yeah, it's done. It's over because I got a new guy.
Yeah, it's like, listen,
look at this
I know
guy.
we used to fuck a lot, but it's now a Han thing. So, and I haven't had sex with him yet, so don't tell him.
She just kissed him.
Again?
She just kissed him. And, like, meanwhile, her other space boyfriend just got fucking ice cubed and shit like that. And still, you don't have to, like, even if you're like, oh, she likes him, she's affectionate toward him. I wouldn't fucking kiss somebody if they were, like, beat up and shit like that. They're missing a hand? You think they want to be kissed on the lips and shit like that? So that's not I don't know that he knew that they were going to be siblings yet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Just didn't care. It was like, you know what? I kiss my sister.
Just like,
I kiss my sister on the lips all the time.
That's how we roll in Modesto, bro. Isn't that where he's from, Modesto?
It's the Modesto two-step.
This ship, my favorite. I think this is my favorite large ship. I think my favorite small ship is Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, or maybe Kylo Ren's TIE Fighter. But in terms of the big ships, more than the Millennium Falcon, my hot take is I like Darth Vader's Imperial Star Destroyer, which I think is the Executioner or the Executor. Do you remember what it is?
I think it's the Executioner.
Which is so metal. I remember having to look that up as a kid and then finding out what it was. And I was like, oh, shit, they named their whole fucking plane after the fucking darkest job in the world, man. Taking lives away. Man, this motherfucker still don't have his leg on.
And he's saying, ouch?
We're gonna
does he register pain? Is that a thing?
I know, right?
Ouch, you're doing it wrong.
Look at Darth Vader literally looking at the Millennium Falcon.
Yep. Luke. Dad.
He hates that ship. Like, it left the hangar in Star Wars. It left the hangar in Hoth. It's always eluding him, that fucking ship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, most times he probably don't know what the ships they're after look like. He's just like, shoot them down. I don't give a fuck. But this one, he's been intimately involved with and shit like that. So whenever he sees it, he must be like, I fucking hate that piece of shit gremlin in the sky. Fuck your Fiat. It's always causing me shit. This guy just got his hand cut off, and he's handling that trauma pretty well, man. I know he's got robot cover on it and shit, but I would not be that fucking cool, especially when my space dad starts talking to me in my head and shit. Like
Get out of my
that
fucking
would have me
head.
thinking, like, I know. It's like, I'll never jerk off again because he could always pop in and be like, Luke, what are you thinking?
Like, the morphine
none of your
can't
business.
kick in if you keep on talking to me, Dad. Remember, you cut off my
tell you.
fucking hand?
If he really wants to fuck with Luke right now and he's already in his head, he could be like, look to your right. That is your sister. And that big Wookiee, that is your second cousin. He just keeps listing all the relatives he's got.
Yeah, or like Luke is like, Ben, why didn't you tell me? And Vader's like, because I didn't want to. It's like, Ben, no, just me, your dad again.
Ben is a lousy uncle. Oh, this motherfucker, he sees the ship get away and he's like, I am not long for this world, man.
Nope, I'm
And
settling my
yet,
affairs
Darth
today.
Vader, he lets him go, man. Look at him. He's just kind of like, Christmas
Did that motherfucker
time is here. He's Charlie Brown walking home in the snow, all sad. He didn't get what he wanted. But he's so bummed, he forgets to kill the fucking general, man.
I'll most likely kill you in the morning.
Look at it. This is their Battlestar Galactica shot, right? Where the whole fucking fleet is together running through space. They don't have a space base no more because Hoth got blown up. So where would they be there on their way to? Where are they? Where's the base in Return of the Jedi?
Oh, fuck, I don't even remember. Isn't it just still a
It's
fleet?
just the
in
fleet,
Jedi?
right? Because the fleet attacks the second Death Star. It starts getting picked off, and he's like, I'm afraid this battle station is quite operational.
It would make sense that, like, every time they go to some planet, it always gets either blown up or they get caught. So, like, listen, maybe we don't set up shop anywhere, and we just roll in space, so we can just beam out whenever we need to.
They gave us everything we needed for Return of the Jedi. They literally say we will meet on the rendezvous point at Tatooine. So, like, we had to know going into fucking Return of the Jedi that Tatooine was going to play a part. Them saying we're going to go after the bounty hunter. I don't think they call him Boba Fett. They're like, we're going after the bounty hunter. But they do reference Jabba the Hutt by name. First time we see fucking Mim and Luke, who's just been revealed as Darth Vader's son, is becoming kind of like Darth Vader. Yep. They lean into that in the next movie in a big bad way. But here,
he shows up in
this
black
ain't a
in the
brotherly
next
hug. This is like, look, once they're gone, let's
Hand's
talk.
going down. That hand is crawling south. Slow down, Luke.
I'm telling you, George Lucas did not know when he made this movie that he was going to make them siblings. There's no way. I believe that shot, like they augmented that shot. Maybe I'm wrong. Like they probably made a better looking Saturn.
I think that one, the one where the Falcon is like literally going
Went
in front
past
of the
it.
Milky Way.
That's the insert.
Yeah, but I think that was
look,
always
man,
kind of that.
everyone lined up, but not victorious like in Empire Strikes Back. I don't remember this shot either being in the original cut. Does he don't tell me he dissolves out from this. Like, in my head, it was always on their backs.
On the four of them, yeah.
Do you think we're wrong? And do you think it was always like it goes to the ships and then out? Do you think that's like a Berenstein or Bernstein Bears kind of thing? Like we've rewritten it in our heads?
The Mandela effect? Yeah, no,
everybody, all the kids in Hollywood owe Lawrence Kasdan and Lee Brackett because they wrote the screenplay that everyone's been copying for an adventure action movie ever since. Everybody owes, every creative owes so much to The Empire Strikes Back. All the little kids in Springfield are SOBs. Everybody does. I gotta say that, man. Like, think about how influential this film is, and it doesn't get its dick sucked nearly as much as Star Wars. Everyone's always like, Star Wars, A New Hope, but like, especially when they came out, Empire did less business than the other two and shit. But it's the best Star Wars movie, hands down. And not only that, but it was the blueprint for a lot of fucking movies to come that we all fell in love with for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. I mean, like, to your point that we talked about early on, is that there had not been franchises like this before. You know, I mean, you saw Planet of the Apes, you know, like, yeah, I love Planet of the Apes, and then, you know, Returns of the Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Conquest, all of that stuff is, you know, sort of following one another, but not this way. Not like these direct handoffs, and not with this sort of emotional connection to these main characters. Like, what's going to happen to these people is why you turn in. Less, what's going to happen on the Planet of the Apes, this movie.
Right. Look at John Ratzenberger in the credits. He's one of the rebel forces. And he was also in, like, Gandhi when he was a kid, too. I remember he's driving a Jeep or something like that. That guy, there's the tie between Pixar and Star Wars universes. John Ratzenberger, man.
Cliff.
I remember these color credits my whole fucking life. This color will always be the Star Wars credits. Anybody could try to do shit with that color in a movie and will always read to me as the Star Wars credits. And when I got to be a voice in Force Awakens. JJ used my voice for one of the stormtroopers. I sat there. I was in Boulder, Colorado, watching the movie because I was on tour doing shows. And so me and Jem went to see Rise of Skywalker, like, opening night, Boulder, Colorado. And I stayed through the credits and saw my name in that blue font. And boy, oh boy, man, I was triggered right back into childhood when I watched the credits for the first time in Star Wars movies, and, like, that blue font was part of the experience. Like, it's different than other movies. I'll read these credits, they're in blue.
And apparently Lucas got into a bit of a tiff with all the various guilds because he wanted all the credits to be after the movie. You know, so there's nothing beforehand. It's 20th Century Fox, Lucasfilm logo, crawl, movie. And they let him have it for Star Wars because, like, oh, well, you're the writer director and you can, you know, make those decisions and whatever. It'd be one-time exclusion. But it's like, no, all of the movies are going to be that way. And so he literally, like, left the DGA and the WGA and the Motion Picture Association because they fought him over it. He's like, well, fuck it. If this is what it's going to be, I'm going to do that.
In that one way, I am like George Lucas, also in the marketing way and shit like that. But although he's way better. But on Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, I didn't have upfront credits, just a title card. And then I wanted to start the movie with the actor credits, with the cast, with their pictures, and then do my written and directed by after that. But both guilds, the Writers Guild and the DGA, got so shitty where they were like, no, you can't do that. Your credit has to go before every other credit. If you're not doing main on ends, then on the back end, the writer-director credit or the director credit has to go first. So I said, fine. I'll just quit the fucking guild. I don't want to be a part of any organization. Won't let me do what I want to do. Aren't you guys here to help me? Like, here's me asking you to help me. Let me do this fucking thing where I'm not even like, I just want to put my cast first, man. And they're like, nope, because if you do it, then other people will make an argument that it could be done to other directors and shit like that. And they held so fucking firm. And I was like, you know what? Then I'll just drop out of this fucking guilds and stuff. And they were like, go ahead, but you still have to fucking keep your credits the way we told you to in this movie because it was made as a guild signatory film. Like, they had me 6 Ways to Sunday, man. I was so pissed that I couldn't just do what I wanted to do. And it wasn't me going like, I'm trying to glorify myself. I was like, I just want to fucking give props to the cast first. It makes more sense. It flows this way, man. So they're pretty tight about it, man. And I did want to go the Robert Rodriguez and apparently the George Lucas route of being like, fuck them, then I'll quit. But they were like, you can quit, but you're still going to have to keep your credits that way, asshole. And I was like, fuck, I've been beaten.
You got me.
Not really the last thing I thought I'd be saying on an Empire Strikes Back watch along, but oddly enough, it does have a weird tie into George Lucas. Your thoughts, Mark, on this classic that came out so many years ago? What is it, 40 years ago this year?
40 years ago, yeah. This is the 40th anniversary. I agree with you. This is of the Star Wars movies, this is the best of them. I have a love for A New Hope simply because it was the first one. But I think this is it's better written, it's better acted. The effects are even a quantum level better than the previous one was, even if you're not taking the special editions into consideration. But it is absolutely a movie that introduced a generation of filmgoers and eventually filmmakers to tragedy, to like what happens if your good guys don't win. You know, what does a middle chapter of a thing feel like? And it does exactly what it's supposed to do, which is like take your heroes to their lowest point. And we've lost everything. Like we lost Han, we lost Hans, like we lost two things with HAN that begin them. We found out that our dad is not our dad. Like or our dad is our dad. It's kicking your characters in the balls as hard as you can, and then making them get back up from that for the finale. It's masterful.
Not only is it a movie I've enjoyed watching throughout my life, it's a movie that I learned from, even though I don't make movies like that, but we all take from it, whether we know it or not. But it's still joyful. Like as I watched it here, I was like, oh man, I wish I had the volume up, because fuck, it's such a high adventure film. And it's still like, there have been many great Star Wars movies, but this is head and shoulders, hands down, the best as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, even with the Dagobah interlude, which could be half as long and maybe do a little more, the stuff that surrounds it is still fantastic.
Young Kevin and Marc were thrilled in a theater. Old Kevin and Marc in the Dagobah scenes would be like, move on! Fuck this puppet!
Faster! Learn some shit!
There it is, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed yourselves. Hopefully we didn't offend anybody. If we did, sorry. It's all in good fun and stuff. We love this movie.
Indeed.
So hopefully you loved it along with us and stuff.
Indeed. And I'm going to go back to my May the 4th, where I am rectifying a long-held hole in my Star Wars knowledge, in that I never watched the Clone Wars show. So I figured that if there was a day to begin watching the Clone Wars, it was May the 4th.
For my May the 4th, I'm going to barbecue some porgs, kick back, and no, of course not. I'm vegan, so I wouldn't be barbecuing any porgs and shit. But I'm going to celebrate today. Well, the day is almost done, so I'm done celebrating. I did my time for Star Wars, man. Star Wars is in every aspect of my life. I it's so weird, for the amount of plugging I do for Star Wars and shit. I'm not on the payroll, and I have to pay for everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I bought the action figures, I buy the tickets to the movies and shit. But you do these things because you love these things, and I've loved this movie since I was a kid, and I'm delighted to see 40 years later it still holds up, not just as a fond childhood memory, but as a piece of cinema. Hats off to Irvin Kershner and crew, and of course the visionary George Lucas, for giving us this wonderful, wonderful flick. The great Carrie Fisher, the great Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford. I've realized that I love that movie so much as a kid, and I got to cross over with and work with some of those people. I worked with Mark and Carrie, both in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and now I worked with Mark again on our show, Masters of the Universe. I worked with Peter Mayhew, came on an episode of Comic Book Men. I've had some crossover, man, with my childhood heroes, people I looked up on the big screen and was like, wow, I wonder if I'll ever meet him and stuff. So this movie laid track, which I'm still, the industry still runs on, and my heart still runs on to this day. Closing thoughts from you, Mr. Marc Bernardin?
This movie is so good. It makes me want to watch Jedi again. And like Jedi is not a thing that I like it quite a bit. Don't love it, but I like it a lot. But now right. I want to know how it ends. I want to know how it ends, even though I totally know how it ends.
I was going to say, spoilers, I can tell you. This was a blast, man. I enjoyed watching it with you, man. It was a good time. Next time we do it in the same room, though. Fuck this.
It's a little weird. Yeah.
It is so strange, I know. But strange times. We can't be too first world about it and be like, we want to be together when we do commentary tracks on movies we didn't create.
I want to hold your hand during it.
Alas. Yeah, but we will be in the same room together next time, goddammit. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Don't forget to support Scum and Villainy Cantina. They put on this wonderful stream for you, man. JC asked us. We weren't going to do this. We wanted to spend Star Wars Day with our families like everybody else. But JC called us, and we come a-running and stuff like that. So
indeed.
Any way you can help out the Scum and Villainy Cantina, buy a gift card or come see it when we're allowed to open, which I understand maybe soon. There, it sounds like the governor is talking about opening in right now. He said we're in stage 1. Stage 2 is restaurants, and bars and stuff like that, but at low capacity. So that means people might be able to come back to the Scum and Villainy Cantina fairly soon and stuff.
And
if you do,
we'd love to get back.
Cover yourself in a human prophylactic, for God's sakes.
But still suit with a Minoc mask.
With a Minoc mask. If you're bored, kids, and you got money to spend, head over to thatkevinsmithclub.com. Mark, where do you want to send folks?
I will send you all just to go to the Bink Foundation. Let's raise a little bit more money for the retailers the comic book store retailers who are taking a hit about as hard as a small business can be hit. So it's BINC Foundation. Go on the internet, just donate some money, just help an industry that's struggling to get back on its feet.
Absolutely. And boy, do I feel like a piece of shit for being like, go to my website. And Mark's like, but Mark is absolutely right, as always, and I'm absolutely wrong. Do what Mark said. Bink is the way to go. Thanks for hanging out with us here on FatMan Beyond on Star Wars Day. I can't do this show without that guy who's either to that side or this side or up, wherever they're putting us in formation. He's Brady bunched around me somewhere, and his name is Marc Bernard. And give it up for the great Marc Bernard, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Smith. So much fun spending a Star Wars Day with you.
May the 4th. That is FatMan Beyond for this week. Although you'll see us on Thursday. There's something we can say. Hey, man, Thursday we're doing FatMan Beyond live streaming from the cantina as per usual. So don't forget, mark that in your calendars. But for now, we hand you back to the stream. This has been FatMan Beyond from FatMan Beyond. I'm Kevin Smith.
I'm Marc Bernard.
Tune in next time. Same fat time, same fat channel, smodcast.com or
youtube.com/Kevin Smith.
May the 4th be with you.
Wakanda forever.